Okay, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission on October 17th, 2024. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. We are also being broadcast live on Montclair Channel 34, and we are being streamed on the YouTube channel. So, without further ado, could you please, Madam Secretary, call the roll?
Yes, of course. Chair Bennett.
Present.
Vice Chair Graham.
Here.
Mr. Reimnett.
Here.
Mr. Rooney.
Here.
Mr. Sweeney is not present. Mr. Giuliano.
Here.
Mr. Pierre is also not present. Mr. Mixer.
Here.
Ms. Floyd.
Here.
And Ms. Bauer.
I'm here.
And Mr. Smolin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Next is the approval of the September 19th meeting, last month's meeting. And I will have to abstain from, and John Reimnett, you were not here last month?
No.
Okay, so John and I will abstain from approving the minutes, but with any other comments or amendments, additions? Seeing none, will someone make a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th?
Motion to approve.
Second? Oh. Zena, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. As I said, I had to, we abstained because we weren't here, but I noticed on the roll call, could you just make sure that you put Ms. Bauer's name there, even if she's not here? So we do not have any resolutions to vote on tonight. Next point are committee reports. The Minor Applications Committee met on September 26th. Application 2024-28, Tours Leisure Cafe at 520 Bloomfield Avenue was approved. Application 2024-29, Sando at 340 Bloomfield was approved with conditions. Application 2024-30, Just Kidding Around 507 Bloomfield was approved with conditions. 2024-31, L&B Grooming at 12 South Fullerton was approved with conditions. We also met on October 10th. Application 2024-32, Bliss Nail Spa at 334 Bloomfield was approved with conditions. And 2024-33, Tony Boy's Sandwich House at 8 South Fullerton was approved with conditions. For outreach, our outreach committee, we're going to be involved with a workshop by the name called Research Your Home's History. It's in conjunction with the Montclair Public Library and the Montclair History Center. It will be held in the Montclair Library. It's going to be on Wednesday, October 23rd from 10 to 12, and Saturday, October 22nd from 10 to 12, 2 different sessions. Anybody that's interested in registering, there's some flyers in the back, and I believe, Zanab, you put it up on the website.
Yeah, if it should be up by tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. And so this is a great opportunity for people in the audience or people at home to, what the library will do when you register, you give them the address of the structure that you're researching, and they'll pull the old deed, and then with the 3 entities, the commission, the Montclair History Center, and the library, you'll be able to see all of the resources, research resources that we have for you to understand your house, who lived there, when it was built, possibly an architect, or if it has any historical significance. So if anyone's interested, these are on the back chair. And the other interesting news is we did our presentation for Preservation Awards on September 5th, And somebody just called me yesterday that Preservation New Jersey, which is a state entity, it's not SHPO, it's not the State Office of Historic Preservation, it's a separate entity, but they awarded a preservation award to one of our awardees. So the Glenridge Avenue, they were awarded an award for honorable mention for preservation stewardess, which is and it's the former St. Eric's Church. Today, we were also, John and I and Mike went to, as part of the Design Review Committee, to an on-site visit for the project that they're working on Valley Road. So we're waiting to hear from that as well. And Zanab was making some inquiries for us, so we'll wait for next week. Thank you. Saying that, can you bring us up to date on the CLG grant?
Yes, so we have finalized the signatures on our end. SHPO now has to review and fully execute the grant. The RFP is in the final stages of review with our office, and then I'll send it to the HPC chair and vice chair, and then SHPO still has to do a final review. So we're getting there. So I think we should be able to post in the next few weeks.
Because I was worried that we were behind schedule on that.
I don't think so, because last year's was posted in January.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think we're ahead of schedule. I think we'll be able to
Okay,
make it better, yeah.
good. And so the people on the education and outreach, we're going to have to think again about next year's grant, okay? So we'll come up with some ideas. I don't remember what time of the year that is due.
I believe it's due in the spring, but I'll
The spring,
double
early
check.
spring.
Yeah, and there was another grant opportunity that came in. I don't
Oh.
have all of the details, but I will check in with you
Oh,
about
okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. And then just for your knowledge, the CLG program requires that we do an annual report, which is due the end of January. And that just rounds up everything that we've done during the year. It's all on file, so you can look at that.
And then do we review that in one of, like, maybe our last meeting of the year?
Yes,
Okay.
because it's it really lets us know that we've been working during the year.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. Are there any other committees? Because I wasn't here last month. Any other committees or outreach or anything? No? Okay. So we will go right to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to get up and address the HPC? It doesn't necessarily have to be about what is on the agenda tonight, but something that concerns you. So come to the podium. Oh, come forward. Yes. And it's touch the button. Is the green light on?
Yes. All right.
Just
May-
state your name, please, and your address.
My name is Laura Hayes, and I live at 132 Bellevue Avenue
Okay.
in Montclair.
And what can we do for you?
I'm a Montclair resident, as you know, and I'm also a parent at Union Congregational Nursery School. I am here to stand for the preservation of the historic Vincent Building at 169 Cooper Avenue, which was designated in the mid-1980s as a New Jersey State and National Registered Landmark. We, as a community, have just recently found out that the Union Congregational Church has been working on plans to close our school and redevelop the property. We were all shocked and saddened that this would be permitted, as the Vincent Building is such a unique historic building and a huge important piece to such a historic property in Montclair. The cornerstone on that building, near where my child and all the children play and run around daily and love to do that, proudly displays the year 1956. That's nearly 70 years of history for that building, which was originally built as a Sunday school for the church and evolved into the Union Cong preschool for nearly 6 decades that we know and love today. The Vincent Building stylistically matches the church and is lovingly adorned with a plaque on the front that states, "In honor of Pastor George Clark Vincent, 25 years from 1927 to 1952, by actions of the congregation January 25th, 1961. It would be a shame to erase this important generational cornerstone of history in the short-sightedness of redevelopment.
Thank you for your remarks.
What's the other, where is this?
Union Kong on Cooper Avenue. Is there anyone? Oh, yes, please.
Hi, my name is Tracy Sherryman. I live at 175 Cooper Avenue. And I'm also here regarding the missing building. I'm here to stand for the preservation of Montclair's architectural heritage. I became a resident of Montclair 9 years ago and was immediately drawn to the rich architectural and cultural history among many other things.
The microphone's not on?
I apologize.
Guys. Thank you, thank you. I recently also became aware of modifications that might be made to the Vincent building that may change the physical character of that building. I personally consider it one of the most unique buildings in Montclair in need of preservation. The Vincent building was built in 1956 and holds historical significance due to its mid-century modern design, classic brick exterior, and unique memorial chapel, which was added in 1964. It also has ties to the broader history of the Union Congregational Church, which was founded in 1881. I would like to see it included as an individually designed landmark. I cherish having the Vincent building in our neighborhood and would like future generations to enjoy seeing the historic building as I do practically every day, and as it is truly a beautiful building. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. So I know this has just hit the papers or the internet about this. And as far as a local landmark, what we can do is maybe give your name to Zanab, and we can talk. We have a committee that does landmarking, and part of the landmarking and education and outreach. So possibly you could see the ramifications of what that is, okay? All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to approach? All right, well, seeing no one else, public comment is closed. Old business, I don't believe we have any old business on the agenda. Okay, new business, application 2024-16, 28 Carteret Street, Kathleen Gebhardt. Gebhardt. Please come forward. Yes, sit at the table. You can spread out your just a second. Let me get on my.
Is the green light on?
Okay, I'll give an introduction to the application, and then we'll ask you we'll swear you in, okay?
Yes.
Is there anyone else here with you, or?
No, I'm here. by
Okay.
myself.
So this is an application, as I said, 2024-16, 28 Carteret Street. This is an application for total demolition of a historic structure. The property is situated on the corner lot at the intersection of Carteret Street and Parkside. The historic garage structure faces north and is accessible from Parkside. There's a lot of paper here, just a second. So the subject property is a 1 1/2 story detached two-car garage in the rear yard of a single-family house designed in the colonial revival style with elements of craftsman's detailing. It's a 2-bay wide structure with a gabled roof clad in wood shingles like the main house. The roof's overhang is supported by narrow purlins. The garage historic character is defined by its consistent use of materials and roof detailing that complement the main house, making it a contributing element to the overall property and the potential Oak Croft Historic District. The subject property was surveyed as part of the Montclair Wheeler Street and Oak Croft residential area inventory in 2019, where it was identified as a contributing resource to the potential historic district. According to historical newspaper accounts, 28 Carteret Street had a construction cost of $8,000, and the detached garage portion was granted a setback variance by the Township's Board of Adjustment in 1925. The subject property aligns with the district's architectural narrative with the design and material palette consistent with the character of the district, making it an important component of the area's historical fabric. And Ms. Gebhardt, if you could just identify yourself and your association with the property.
Yes.
And then our attorney will swear you in.
Okay. Kathleen Gebhardt. I've been a resident of Montclair for 42 years. My spouse, who died 2 years ago, was a resident for 47 years. I'm sorry, what else? What else did you need?
You are the owner of the property,
I
right?
am the owner of the property, yes.
Sure. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide on the application to the commission tonight will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Gebhardt, you are requesting a total demolition of this garage structure. We have your narrative, which you submitted to the HPC in June, says that the house is built in 1926 and the garage in 1925. I don't know if that...
That's what I assumed, but I thought that was done that way. But from the research, it looks like it was all done in 1925.
Okay, all right. And you lived in the house since 1983 with your spouse, who passed away in 2022.
Right, and she moved in 1977 is when they actually...
Okay, so what you're maintaining is the garage is in desperate need of replacement. Through the 47 years that you own the house, you and your partner replaced the roof, the garage doors, gutters, and drains around the perimeter to prevent the flooding, and tried to repair the rotting wood as much as possible. But along with the rotting wood, the foundation is cracked and the garage continues to flood. It is no longer worth the money or effort to keep repairing the garage. It will be more cost-efficient, environmentally safe, and aesthetically pleasing to replace it. My plan, as you see, as we saw in your proposal, is to replace the garage with a slightly smaller footprint than the current garage, with the variance needed for height. I will need a 22-inch height variance. So that will go to the zoning board.
Exactly.
What we just do here is whether or not to approve the demolition.
Yes.
Your plan is to have a small second floor space so you can take your woodworking out of your dining room, and the garage will be the same style and same look as the original garage. And then the documentation that you provided is a photographic documentation, photographs of the current condition, the statement of the need or purpose, which I just read for the total demolition. You have not, there was no documentation of good faith attempt to sell the building because you want to build on the same.
Yeah, I don't have any intention of selling. What I'd like to do is just build another garage, one that that's waterproofed and...
Right. Well, I'm just going
The
through our
mice and the
requirements
rodents aren't taking over.
to make sure that you've fulfilled everything
Oh.
that we requested.
Okay.
And so you provided we did not provide original documents, maps, drawings, or photographs. I don't know if you have any of those.
Of the new building or what I
No,
proposed
the
it?
original. We're looking at the history of it.
I sent the survey of the building, and I sent photos that I took of the building.
The what?
You're wanting, they had, the surveys included in the package, as well as pictures that I did take of the garage.
Right, the survey from when it was for the potential historic district from 2018.
Yes.
I'm just looking to see if you have any other documentation that's
Well, there was
earlier.
the structural engineer came to the house on Tuesday.
Oh, no,
in his report.
No, I'm just trying to document if there's anything older that you submitted as part of the requirement.
No, I'm sorry, no.
Yeah, no, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
And no architectural study of the property, archaeological study of the property, And then no preservation or salvage of architectural elements because you want to build, you
Right.
want to replace it.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to say that, again, that this was part of the 2018 survey for a proposed historic district, which was the Oak Croft Historic District. And again, that's why you're before us, because as our review, HPC review matrix, if it's surveyed, approval of total demolition has to come before us. Okay, all right, so just that you're aware of. Okay,
Yes, yes.
so now you get to speak and tell us
Okay.
what.
Well, I do want to correct, after reading this engineer's report and the Historic Society's report, I was unaware that I needed to make the new garage exactly like the old garage, and I tried to make it that way. But so I've changed and added cedar shingles so that the actual garage will look exactly like the one that's there, except it's not the same type of material. You can't get that kind of material now. And it will have that second level floor. And that's the only addition. The other thing was they mentioned there wasn't a vapor barrier, and I did submit that in, there's two separate, I have the construction people and as well as the site prepared, who is going to prepare the site, and it did include a moisture barrier so that it is included in the preparation of the slab that the garage will sit on.
Okay, I'm sorry, do we have that?
It was all in the packet, so.
Is that with the?
It's called site prep, the site prep, and it was part of the original packet. And they are including a, let me just see here.
Is
A
that-
frost wall, 12-inch wide concrete frost wall, as well as a moisture barrier is included in the pad that the garage will sit on. The reason I wanted to really even take up the cement, other than it's leaking, and I'm finding out from the engineer that it's not really cracked, the foundation part, only in the sill that it's cracked, so that I wouldn't have to necessarily, but it needs, because of the grading on the sides of the house, I figured that if I took it all down, I could have it graded so that it wouldn't flood, and put in the drains on the other two sides that I don't have drains on. So that was my idea of that.
Okay, do you have anything else to add? Because what we'll do now is we'll open it up to questions.
Okay.
If anybody in the audience wants to speak, and then we'll open it up for discussion. Okay? Do you have anything else?
No.
But I just want to get back to the piece of paper that you're referring to, because I don't think we have that. What we have is,
Is it this?
It's not that one, no, here.
this is something from
This
Lab
is
Structures?
No, that's the actual people that will be building the garage. The other people are the site prep people who work in conjunction with them, but it's a separate company that just does foundation work, does the grading, does laying the pad for the garage, puts the vapor seal in. All of that is done by a separate group called Site Prep, which was included in the.
Did you see that?
I
don't think we didn't see that.
Yeah, we don't have that, so we have to mark it.
Yeah, we'll mark this as an exhibit. I don't have this. Okay. Exhibit A1.
So I'll
I
pass it
marked on
around.
that one because it was my personal one, but yeah. It was all part of the original packet with the Site Prep was the first people that would come in, grade it, put in the drains, put in all that's necessary, put the pad, and then the construction of the garage.
Okay. And I guess before we go any further, just for everybody's, can you just run through the photographs that I see that you have the picture of the garage as faces Parkside, the park, Anderson Park. It's the original garage siding with replacement doors.
Yes.
Okay. And then the side that faces the east to the back of the house faces the west on the property line. The property line is very close there. Do you want to add something?
Well, I was going to say that, if you go back to that other picture, that was where the grading had a problem. If you'll see in the structural engineers, it cannot be, the space between that garage and the next person's property is just, doesn't even meet code in terms, well, not current code in terms of that. May I add something else?
Yes,
The other
please.
structural engineer also said that the sill that it's sitting on is not, it's not 8 inches up, which is probably why it's flooding. So the water's just coming in. So to repair that, we'd have to cut all the beams, pour cement 8 inches up, and then fix the garage. So that expense alone is more than the pad that I'm putting in.
I don't think we saw any of that, though. Did you see it? No.
The structural engineers report mentioned.
Well, is that the structural engineers report from today?
Did you just get it today?
Yes.
Yeah, I just got it today, yes, myself.
Okay.
I'm
here
going
it
to
is.
pass around A1.
Thanks, Jane. Are we asking questions?
No, let's just go through the
Just
photograph.
for the record, A1 is, well, you'll see what all the items are, but there is a 6 mil moisture barrier on there and a frost wall protection and other things related to a new concrete slab. And site prep is on Lincoln Highway in Gap, Pennsylvania. So that's marked A1 for the record.
Oh, thank you. Is that the last one, Sanab?
This is the back.
Okay.
Also very narrow from the end of the garage to the next person's property.
Okay. Thank you. That's it?
That's the last one.
Okay, thank you. So just for the record, we only got this engineering report today, and the township, the township engineer has done this report. So that's for the record, that the applicant did not provide an engineering report to us. We asked for it. Okay. So has everyone had a chance to absorb this engineer's report? And we'll begin with asking questions. Mike? Oh, John, go ahead.
Chair, do you want to ask me about my conversation with the engineer?
Oh,
first?
yes, please,
Okay.
sorry. I know Ms. Bauer had a conversation.
So the reason I requested this report is because you said that the foundation was cracked in your application, but you didn't include any interior photographs, so it was hard to tell what foundation meant because I wasn't clear whether you were actually referring to the slab, which is not the foundation, or the footings around the garage, which are generally subsurface. They're the foundations. So I asked to have a conditions report, a structural engineer go out there and take a look at it, which he did. And then after I read it, I called him today because he also did not include any photographs of a cracked foundation. You've partly cleared this up already, but I just want to put on the record.
I
there
believe,
was.
I'm sorry.
Wait till I finish, because we can't talk over each other because of the record. He only had the sill plate on the west side of the building, photo 11, which was in the interior. There's a couple little other spaces in photos 7 and 8, but the purpose of those photos is not to photograph the interior. So I asked him, because I thought it was an important point as to what condition the slab was in and the footings, and he said the slab is in very good condition, surprisingly good considering the age of the garage. He pointed out that because of the rainwater entering the property for all the reasons that you've pointed out, basically the drainage and inadequate drainage away from the building due to grading problems and limited space, that the sill plate has cracked, and that's what's in photo 11, as well as perhaps something else. So the only thing I wanted to bring to the commission's attention based on that, other than what I've just said, is it seems like this is a cautionary tale from the setback variance in 1925, that there's been a minimal space and therefore inadequate drainage for a long time. And it's up to you entirely whether you want to grant the permit or deny the permit or impose conditions or whatever you want to do, but obviously the drainage has to be solved, whether the structure is kept or a new one's put in, because there's no sense putting in a new one and having the same inadequate drainage, especially if it's on the same footprint. So it's my contribution.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer. John?
You answered one of my questions was what was the condition of the slab? I didn't see any mention of any foundation in this structural report at all.
Slab's in good
Okay.
shape.
You're proposing to do the siding with cedar shingles with,
Yeah, it wasn't on the original, but now that I know, yes, of course. It's called,
that will be, okay. And will they be mitered in the corners of the garage? Sometimes they put corner boards and the shingles butt up to the corner boards, or will the shingles be installed the same way they're installed now?
I don't know.
Don't know, okay. Are we just, I see two lists of things here. One is A, demolition, B is the referral for a new garage. Are we discussing both of these things
Well, I
at
think
the same time, or how do we?
The
approach it?
demolition has to be approved or not
Yeah.
approved first.
Before you,
Right.
okay.
Any more questions?
No.
Steve?
No question.
Nick?
How are they building the foundation for the new garage if we were to grant a demolition permit? It's not just going to be a slab on the ground, right?
No, it's all written in their site
think-
prep.
Did they submit a graphic of that?
No.
I don't see a graphic.
I don't have this. Let's see.
Did we give them copies of the site prep? In the description, there's a description of exactly what they're going to do with that.
Okay, I see it, 36 deep wall. Okay, yeah, that's my only question for now. Thank you.
Ms. Floyd? And Mr. Mixer?
Can you clarify why adding drainage to the side that is where the water is getting in? How come that wouldn't resolve the problem?
According to what the engineer told me,
Yeah.
was that because the sill is on the ground, it's not, on that side, it's not even, doesn't have any height, so the water's just going to keep coming in from that to that, because it needs to have that, he says, it needs to have that 8-inch, which is the current, I guess, the current code, 8-inch height, and once it has that barrier, the water won't enter in from the sill.
So a question for my more learned colleagues. The new plan would resolve that issue?
I don't see the new
I
plan.
don't see it on
but-
the old wall section, but he's right. Normally, you wouldn't have the wood. You don't want wood within 8 inches of the ground.
Right.
So if you have like a garage slab that's that grade, they put a little 8-inch block or pour the concrete up a little bit higher, and the wood sits on there. This way, it's a monolithic, block between the grade and the moisture and the inside.
And there isn't a fix there is not a fix for the current garage that could replicate?
Typically, when there's a situation like this, where you can see in the photographs, the shingles go right down into the ground, so it's pulling in all the moisture and it's rotting, is a contractor will go around the perimeter and raise the wood sill by installing an 8-inch concrete block on top of the existing slab. And you can do a fix around the bottom to raise that up and allow then the grade on the outside to slope away a little bit better and not have that water, just coming right in under the wood sill. So that's a fix.
But they suggested that was too expensive?
Yes, he said it would be very expensive. Here's my concern about fixing, which I've been doing through the years. It's 100 years old, and I understand 100 years old, okay, so it is historic, I understand that. I fix it, it's 100 years old, the more you fix, it's not a matter of upkeep, it's a matter of repair every year. Now, what next needs to repair, because the nails are rusting out of the wood on the inside and coming out, which you can see now. The wood's good, the wood's solid, some of it, and I can replace some of that, but I'm going to be replacing wood and stuff every single year, all the time, because it's an old 100-year-old garage. And so we can fix and fix and fix and fix and fix, and I'll be paying for repairs, not upkeep, repairs, probably till I die. And that's the reason I felt that it was better to just make it new. I can make it look like the old garage and make it serviceable for me, and make it serviceable for me.
So I have a question.
That's all I have.
The photographs that you provided, have you replaced the shingles at the bottom of the?
Yes, I did. In the front of the garage, I had that redone.
No, on the side, where this picture. Is that 100, where you say that?
I haven't replaced any shingles except the front door, where the garage door is, on the left-hand side. That was replaced because actually my daughter hit the garage years ago. That was why that was replaced, but.
So these shingles here that are on this building are original?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had the same issue with my garage, and I did what John suggested. We put, to keep the footprint, and did that, and it's fine. Oh, so the other.
It's not just the foot, that's a major issue, I think, that issue. We also we'll need a whole new roof. We'll need, which buildings need. And I've re-shingled it several times through the years, but now it's going to need a whole new roof. Some of the underlying supports, as you'll see, not all of them, but some of them are going to have to be replaced.
And what are the
cracked major supports that are coming down? Some of them will need to be replaced. And
right.
Through the years, it will continue to be needing to be replaced. And so I'm going to be repairing and have to be repairing with major cost a lot.
I have another question. Mm-hmm. Would you do this project if you didn't get the extra 22-inch variance so that you could use the upper level?
Probably, yes. It needs to be
you would still replace this garage?
One way or another, the garage whoever said that needs to be taken care of.
Whoever what?
We said something about you need to take care of the drainage, so the drainage needs to be taken care of. So there needs to be work on the garage no matter what.
Right, but this is an area that experiences flooding often, correct?
Excuse me?
This is an area where the garage is, your street, your road, experiences flooding often. It's not
It actually experienced it more. We used to have like rivers running down our street until the park put in drains across the street, and since then we haven't had flooded streets. I also put drains in around my inside and the outside of my house, and so I no longer have flooding in my house. I put drains in front of the garage and the side of the garage where I could, and that, it helped the flooding, but it still floods.
And then I have a question in terms of what you're proposing to replace it with. The windows. Windows are they vinyls in the plan?
I believe they are. I can look at the designs, see what they say. But I believe they're wood now. They're wood now.
Right.
But yes, I believe they are.
Okay. So you want to replace it with vinyl windows. Okay. Any other questions?
If we approve, this is a question, if we approve the demolition, do we have control over what is built there, or we can only?
So there's the referral application for the zoning board variance that you could provides, I think, some.
Advisory report.
It's only
Advisory.
advisory.
It's
The
only-
whole thing's advisory.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, okay.
Besides the demolition.
Beside the demolition. The demolition, we have to vote on, yes or no? Okay. Any other questions? No? Anybody from the public like to ask questions? Okay, so before we go to our discussion, Mr. Smolin, could you go over your report, please?
Sure. You received a copy of my review. It looked like this. Great. Okay. So I'll go through quickly just the existing garage, and then I also have a bunch of questions about the proposed, but we'll start with the existing. It's colonial revival in style. It's got some craftsman elements to it. The garage's historic character is defined by its consistent use of materials and detailing that complement the main house. Overall, this property, main house and garage, are a contributing element to the potential Oakcroft Historic District. This was surveyed only 5 years ago and determined to be a contributing resource. So the ordinance here in Montclair has a couple steps to justify demolition. The first is the evaluation of its historic integrity. Overall, it's my opinion that the garage retains a high degree of historic architectural integrity and continues to reflect its original purpose, which is a place to park automobiles, and its connection to the main house, which is an important element to understanding the historic significance of not only your property, but the broader district. So my report goes through the 7 different elements to evaluate historic integrity. I found all of them to be high, except for materials. Given that some replacement's been done over time, I say that's medium to low, but I don't think overall that detracts from its original historic integrity. The workmanship, fairly utilitarian structure, didn't have great workmanship to begin with, still doesn't have great workmanship, so that's not really high. And lastly, association, the property, house, garage, not really associated with any super important historical figures in Montclair, so that is low. The next step in Montclair's ordinance is related to preservation criteria. So there's a couple different bits to that. The first is its historical, architectural, cultural, and aesthetic significance. It's part of the original property. It was built, if not at the same time, within a year of the original house. It contributes to its overall aesthetic, cultural heritage of the historic district, etc. The use and feasibility of continued use based upon what was originally submitted, where there was a representation of a potential cracked foundation. I found that the potential for the continued use may be diminished. However, given the structural engineering report by Strands Engineering dated a couple days ago, October 15th, it doesn't sound like there is a cracked foundation. It may be a sill plate, so I don't actually believe that its continued use is compromised to the degree that my report originally said. I agree with you, it's a damp garage. It's certainly not a weather-tight structure, but few garages really ever are completely weather-tight. They're meant to be damp spaces. Just continuing through the rest of the preservation criteria, I'll just highlight its impact of the replacement on the neighborhood's character. I think the proposed replacement, which we'll get to in a moment, would adversely impact, especially the Parkside streetscape, and really begin to diminish the historic ambiance of that potential historic district. So the third and final step in Montclair's ordinance is related to hardship criteria that the HPC considers in making a determination for demolition. So due to the deteriorated condition of the garage, preservation of the subject property might begin to impose an undue burden or hardship on the applicant for its reasonable use. that conclusion that I reached in my report was really strongly relying on the representation that there was a cracked foundation, which again turns out really, I don't think to be the case. So a lot of what was described related to water infiltration and the other potential structural issues, I think are things that can be solved. We talked about some different ways to do that that are routinely done. And I don't believe that it's technologically infeasible or burdensome or hardship to rehabilitate the 100-year-old garage that we're talking about this evening. So in conclusion, my opinion was that the applicant did not adequately substantiate the need to remove the existing garage, to demolish it in its entirety based on the Montclair total demolition ordinance. So that's my bit about the existing building. I do have questions about the proposed. Should I hold on those or go right into those?
Well, maybe we can have a discussion on, on this first, and then go into the proposed building, all right? So we'll start with discussion. Would you like to begin?
I would like to hear a little bit more from our board about potential, our commission, about potential solutions. I'm not convinced currently that the criteria has been satisfied for total demolition. But I also have some questions about hardship to the applicant. I thought there were some legitimate points raised about fixes, but I would like to hear from our board a discussion of the feasibility of that. Chair, you brought up a potential solution that you yourself implemented. So I would like to hear more from our other colleagues first before commenting further.
Okay, we'll go this way.
There certainly is a fix that's a lot less expensive. I don't buy that it's more expensive than tearing the entire garage down, ripping up the existing slab, pouring a new foundation, pouring a new slab, and building a new garage with windows and new doors, as opposed to going around the sill, installing concrete block and raising the sill off the ground to deal with the only thing I see as an issue, which is the water. I realize it doesn't get the applicant to where she wants to get ultimately with a new garage with a space upstairs and stairs going up there, which is she's not going to be able to accomplish if we don't allow the demolition. But as far as fixing it, if it's just talking dollars and cents, it's not even close. So ongoing maintenance question, I don't know. The slab's in good condition. Foundation seems to be in good condition. You'll be off the ground 8 inches. So the maintenance goes to painting the cedar shingles, maybe repairing the soffits. She'd have a new roof anyway. So I don't see any hardship in that. So
Can I
those are my comments.
Could I maybe describe what I think how that process might look in more detail? So it can be done sequentially. I think you would start, say, on the northwest corner of the garage. You'd pull away 5 to 10 feet of shingles up about maybe 12 to 18 inches on the outside. They'd have to be removed. You're exposing the framing on the inside. You're then going to have to come in, again, sequentially. You're not like temporarily supporting the garage. You're doing it piece by piece, cutting out a couple of the framing members up about 8-10 inches from the existing slab. At that point, you're then probably drilling into the slab to install rebar. You're grouting that. You're putting concrete block on top of that, fully grouted. On top of that, you're putting a piece of pressure treated 2x6 or whatever it ends up being 2x8 to then bear the studs that you cut out earlier. That's all taken care of. Then from the outside, You waterproof it, so you've dug away a little bit from the foundation, so you're applying a, bitumen or some type of waterproofing membrane on the outside. You're reinstalling the shingles at that point, and then you move on to the next 5 or 10 feet all around the garage. I agree with you, though, that that doesn't feel like more expensive than, I don't know how much this totals with the site work that we got tonight, but
But just describe the other thing you would do, which is you would demo the garage, come in with a backhoe, rip up the concrete slab, tear out the foundation, dig a new excavation around for a new
3 foot deep.
foundation, pour new concrete, pour a new, not even close.
pour new slab, then you start what we
That's
just
right,
did in the
that's right,
rehabilitation
that's
thing
right.
where you're drilling into the slab, rebar, block up. It's certainly more difficult to do it within the garage sitting on top of you, but certainly not impossible.
Steve?
Nick, do you have a-
Yeah, it's very, if we could figure out a way for her to put in the space that she wants to have above, but you can't do that by just replacing we're not really replacing the foundation. Existing foundation seems to be fine. It's just putting it in to current standards of waterproofing and getting the water away from the building. It's slower than coming in with a backhoe and knocking it down. That's one day's work.
But in terms of our ordinance, I think analyzing in terms of the demo ordinance, it seems that it's not in a state that would require demolition based on hardship, is what I'm driving at. I do have sympathies for the applicant, but in my opinion, right now, it doesn't. I have not seen the evidence that would indicate to me that it satisfies the demolition ordinance. So that's, and after this discussion, I feel more confident in that assessment.
Dick?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really technically state much more than Stephen and John haven't already. I think moisture is the root of the problem. I think once this base is reconstructed the right way, I think you're going to find a lot less maintenance creeping up over the years. You're not going to be dealing with the studs swelling and shrinking every year with moisture getting into them. They're going to be protected. The shingles will hold better over time. You're not going to have as much movement anymore throughout the year on the garage once the moisture is handled. And if the framing itself is in good condition, additional maintenance, maybe another roof at some point, but the framing can stay. But yeah, I think, what we're suggesting is really the root of all the other problems. And once that's squared away, I think you're going to have a lot less year-to-year maintenance on it when you can keep the water out of it and keep the moisture out of the main walls of the building. So,
Am I allowed to say?
Yes, of course.
And what would keep the knot holes in the actual original wood from falling out of the wood, which is what's happening now in the building itself, not the frame, but the wood that's going around?
I mean, again, if the structural engineer assessed that the framing is in decent enough shape and is not unsound, I have to go with their report on it. That if the studs are stable, they're stable, and would continue to be.
Any other comment?
No, I mean, aside from technically, I mean, I don't know if this works for you, but could it not be that if you're not able to get the second level, I mean, does one bay become, if it's nice and dry now, your working area?
The second level is not the most important part of what I'm doing here. I just added that because it would be nice, it would be something I could work in. It's the garage itself that needs to be dealt with, not necessarily, if we have a second floor or not, is insignificant as far as I'm concerned.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, again, I think really the fix of the base around the entire garage will go a long way in upkeeping it for the life of your use of it.
Ms. Floyd?
So I just have a question based on what Mr. Smollett said in reference to the materials that were being used to upkeep throughout the years is not of the same, it's a subpar material along with historical material that's in there already. So if she was to take the advice and, repair the garage, are we looking at 10 years, 15 years of coming back here and having that same scenario? Because obviously the original materials have been compromised in a way. This is just one aspect. And then the other aspect that I was looking at, and these are just questions as well, it seems as if it's very close to the other property. I don't know if that is, it seems close. Like, I thought we had to have at least 6 feet from another, I could be wrong about that. Right, so if she was to do the demolition, she's taking half of it off, which means that it would be then, in compliance with the spacing between properties.
Oh, no. Are you moving it 6 feet off the property?
It would be exactly the same space that
Oh, I
it's in
thought you were
now.
making it a little smaller.
Well, it is a little, but it's really not
And not
significantly.
significant, okay.
Yeah.
So then my only thing with that would be using the, subpar materials, and she would continue to do that if she's doing the repairs moving forward. Does it compromise the building overall in, say, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? That would be my only thought with that.
When you say subpar materials, what do you mean?
Well, you had said that you've done some repairs on the building throughout the years, right? And I believe, and I could be mistaken about that, but it would not be the same materials that the building was originally made in, so it doesn't have the same quality, Do you understand what I'm saying?
So she's done some selective repairs over
Right.
time, which is great. That's exactly what you're supposed to do to a historic building. I don't know if the cedar or cypress, whatever she used for the shingles, was inferior or not. The comment related to materials was more about the fact that the garage doors have been replaced. They're not original. They're metal, maybe even vinyl clad. But I don't think overall that detracts to the point where we have a big issue with historic integrity purely based on that.
Okay.
That's this picture. Mr. Mixer?
My only comment was indeed about the metal doors and the aesthetic of the consistency of the material. I understand that what we're discussing here is the complete demolition, and so that is that's obviously what brings us to this particular point, and not what the future of what would be built on the property would look like. Because I think that obviously does play a role, but from the need to satisfy what Mr. Smolin put in his report too, it doesn't appear that it's required from a total demolition perspective. But then I think too, it's not a question of dollars, of how much it costs, right? It's a matter of really, because if you decide that you want to pay that price for what it takes to completely remove this from the space and put something new there, then I guess that's a personal decision on your right versus the overall cost of taking pieces of this and fixing it, as has been suggested previously. But the alternative to complete demolition, and there's several of those, is there a solution of a usable garage space that could still retain whatever structural integrity exists today without complete demolition? And that could be just the frame and building on top of that, but again maintaining the historical integrity of the location, as well as the fact that it does abut the park, and it's a very visible piece of the property that does continue with the aesthetic of the entire house to garage. So In short, I totally understand where you're coming from for this particular, and I just want to make sure that what we're focused on in this discussion is indeed the total demolition versus the other options, as well as, our own, personal view of what the second part of this is that's the proposed building being built on top of that, or at least the replacement. And that's my only comment. Thanks.
I'd like to make a comment on the water issue.
Sure. I just wanted to clarify one point. Apologies, but just on the discussion of cost is more to determine if not
Hardship.
demolition, that if you do not demo it, is it more of a hardship to the applicant? So it's not really a comparison of cost so much as is there a hardship by not permitting the
Right.
demolition? That's all
Fair
I
enough.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Apologies, Ms. Gebhardt.
I was thinking about what you were just saying. In terms of the water, it seems to me if we put a makeshift fix in this garage with blocks and cement, and I know you've done that, but that's going to be lasting a few years. Putting in a whole new pad with drainage with the 8-inch that you need is a complete fix, not a temporary fix that in a few years the cement from the in-between when they mortar it is going to come out. I know that will happen because I had a house in a lake house that exactly happens to. It looks great and it lasts for a few years, but then it starts to erode around where they had to cement it. So I'm suggesting that a complete pad with its drainage at the level of the code of where it's supposed to be in terms of height will be addressing fully the problem of water in the garage. That's all I have to say about water.
You gave us a proposal from Lap Structures that there's a couple of different prices here, and when we're talking about costs and whether it's a hardship, the total amount is $38,000, and yet the two garage is $29,000. Is that a combination?
I don't know what you're looking at, so I have to look.
Well, we're talking about hardship and cost,
There's a cost
and
for
I
the
think.
garage, and then there was a cost for the pad, okay? Now, I also wanted to have the garage, so I add the man that's doing the concrete, the company that's doing the concrete work, that's doing the pad, would also put a cement driveway in, which is not included because that didn't need to be included. But so I figured they could grade it all once and for all, boom, so that it's all now level to where it's supposed to be, and then they put the pad in. That's how it goes.
All right, I was just trying to get to what we're talking about, hardship and cost,
Oh, okay.
and what you
So
were.
the cost would be the cost of the garage itself.
Right.
The cost of the pad, and the cost of the pad, and the demolition cost. So there are three costs.
Okay. So does anyone else have any other thing to contribute? Then, do you want to speak a little bit to the proposed replacement?
Sure. The intention is to park 2 cars in this garage, or up to 2 vehicles,
Yes,
like
it's a two-car garage, yeah.
full-size cars. So I'm looking at page 4 of the Lap Structures packet, and it's titled cross-section. It's showing 20 feet by 1610. And this is, I think, very problematic for some stuff that.
Forgive me, are we talking about the new proposed structure? I do have a question first. Before we do that, do we need to make a determination on the demolition?
Well, I didn't know if.
That would be a legal question, right?
Right? Ms. Bauer, would we need to, before discussing that
No.
new proposed structure, we can consider it in conjunction with the demo?
Absolutely.
Vote?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, you have to take a separate vote on the application for demolition,
yes.
but there's nothing to prevent you from looking at what the applicant's proposing.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. So at the base of that section, there are 4x4 runners at 30 inches on center, and then perpendicular to that are 2x4 joists, 8 inches on center, and then there's a 5/8 inch plywood floor. I do not believe you could park more than a lawnmower on that floor assembly. I don't think that that's for parking a car on it. I don't think it's for parking 2 cars on it. So what I think is maybe being contemplated here is a modification of that section based on the testimony that the applicant provided tonight, where that assembly of those 3 layers from the 4x4s up to the 5/8 plywood is potentially being discarded and substituted by the slab on grade. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not, we will not have that wood floor. We'll have the cement, concrete slab, yes.
Okay. So I think that's notable for a few reasons. One, I don't think you're applying for a 16'10" height variance, because that will result in a structure of a different height than what that section shows, lower, probably. However, if you're looking to solve your water infiltration problem, and we're going back to the site prep quote here from April 29th, I do not see, and maybe you could point us to where 8-inch block or some type of foundation, some type of masonry vertical foundation is being provided. I see footings that go down 3 feet, 12 inches wide, and then essentially a sheet of plastic, which is that moisture barrier, and then they're pouring 4 inches of concrete on that, which is bringing a slab up to grade. And then it sounds like this shed structure is being plopped on top of that, and there's no vertical waterproofing connecting those 2 things, at least according to this quote and the testimony so far. So I think the structure's lower. I don't think it's waterproofed in the vertical direction, which is where your problems seem to be coming from. And that leaves me a little bit confused. I understand that it may sound like overkill to get someone involved to draw what this all looks like comprehensively, but I think that's important given that it's affecting the height of the structure quite a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if you could re-explain, because I'm not sure what you're saying about water vertically coming.
Yeah, so the quote from site prep, about 5 or 6 lines down, has a sick.
paper on that, so I don't have that.
Oh, does someone have Exhibit A to get back to her?
Who has
go
A1?
that way. There it is, that.
So the quote describes really sequentially how they would build that slab from the bottom, 3 feet down, up to grade. And it starts with the footings that are 36 inches deep, 12 inches wide. And then they're putting 4 to 5 inches of crushed stone within that. They're essentially pulling a sheet of plastic over that to prevent water from coming up from below. And then they're pouring concrete, hopefully with, yes, wire mesh rebar within the concrete. And that's just getting done, and that brings you to a horizontal level slab.
Yes.
And then you're modifying the shed, the prefabricated shed, to then bear directly on that slab. There's no vertical masonry element that you can waterproof between the slab that site prep is doing and this shed that, I can't remember the name of the company, that lap is doing. So those two elements aren't interfacing with one another right now. I imagine they're anchored down, probably. I hope, but
I would hope so too.
There's no waterproofing in the vertical orientation. You have no.
You're ending up with the same detail.
Yeah.
You're ending
Yeah,
up with a
it's
wood
same-
sill on a concrete slab.
Same
Same
problem.
exact problem.
That's what you have right now. The bottom sill of the interior framing of your garage is sitting right on the concrete slab. That's what you're showing us that you're going to be doing in the future. So you're not solving that water problem. I mean, you haven't
I mean, I'd
presented
have to
it
talk
as
to my
solving
site
it.
prep guy to see what, you know,
But if you,
I'm not an
if you
excavator,
did
so-
solve it, and you put the block in, now the structure is even higher than 16 foot 10. So that's a problem for the zoning board, or where you're heading for
Well,
that,
they'd
that
have to
variance.
they'd have to account for that 8 inches. They'd take it out of the framing.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, we don't know.
I don't-
We don't have
yeah,
an accurate, we don't have an accurate.
It could be 2 layers
Yeah,
of
right,
block, it
right.
could be, you know, there's a bunch of different things that could be done.
true.
It sounds like with the new study that the engineer presented today, that it's opened up more problems. Do you feel would you like to reconsider this with other plans that are more comprehensive, that doesn't show to us that it's going to create the same problem? You're not mitigating the water issue with what you're proposing, what we understand, what you've just given us.
So are you saying if I can do that, then we can go ahead with this, or, you know, what?
We'd still have to consider
We'd
it. It would still have to be reviewed.
I definitely think that if that needs to be done, it needs to be done in the garage. If that's going to be, if I'm having a new garage, I'm certainly going to want to consider what you've just said, yes. You know, I'm not a constructional engineer, or a construction person, so I can't speak to how that would be done. What I can speak to is I can talk to site prep about that issue and have them, you know, deal with that.
So the site prep that you showed us, that, I don't know, went this way, and that was one page, that, which wasn't in, we didn't see that. It wasn't in our packet. So is that a different company from what this lab?
Yes, it is. It's a company that just does foundation work and environmental drainage and that sort of thing. They happen to, the reason I chose them is because they have worked in conjunction with the lap structure people, so they know how to put they know how to put the cement slab, they know how to attach the garage. I don't know all the technical terms for that, but I can have them write it up, I guess, with I thought this was it, but if there needs to be more to that, then sure.
Well, I think, what do my fellow colleagues, what do you think? I mean, I don't think we have.
And just to talk a little bit more about what's being proposed beyond that point. Where's the elevation? Where's the elevations here? There's another
Of what?
sheet. Oh,
This?
there you go. So I see a drawing here that shows vertical tongue and groove siding, and you're saying this would turn into cedar shingles.
Yes.
And
the overhangs that's on the garage now would be there on the new one as well.
Well,
Then I see also someplace where it says sliding windows, and then I see double hung windows
Yeah.
being drawn here. So I don't know what we're looking at, really.
Yeah, I think you need to come back with these questions that we've raised answered, especially with the slab and the way that the two interface, the water barrier, the slab, and then the structure that's on top of it. Because, again, as John said, the materials, we need to see what we're approving, in other words.
Would that require a new application, Ms. Bauer? Or can we table this?
Well, you can ask the applicant to adjourn it. I guess that your real question is, do we need public notice because she's going to bring back additional plans?
If we announce that at this meeting, like a future date, then public notice might not be required.
Okay.
Yeah, but you realize you have to provide additional plans that satisfy the technical questions that the commission has asked, and they need to be on file with the clerk. Like, for instance, A1 was supposed to be on file with the clerk at least 10 days before the next public hearing. it would be really good to have a witness from your construction company or your site prep company to address the technical questions that are being raised.
I guess my question is, that information that you needed concerns the new building, correct? What we need to decide, what I'm wondering is if you're even going to decide that I'm going to be able to have a new building. So to go, this is,
It's a fair question, yeah.
It's a fair question.
Chair, you can call for a motion if you want.
Oh, a motion to,
Deny.
oh,
a motion to deny.
Or to approve,
Decide.
or to approve, whatever
Yeah.
people want in the
This,
motion.
this is a problem we have with total demolition and then looking at something that's going to replace it and it's not clear what's going to replace it. I would tend to support replacing it if I was convinced that what you were replacing it with matched the details and the soffit details and the different framing details of the existing
Yeah,
garage.
the
I'm not
windows.
convinced of
Right.
that now. Okay?
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
so, again, do we table this and you come back with those details, which would give us a clearer understanding of what you're proposing? Or do you want us to take a vote, we could take a vote now to approve or deny, and then,
Well, Chair, I would also, I mean, there were many comments from the board that perhaps the existing structure did not satisfy
right.
the statute, so.
Right, because especially that it appears that the structural engineer does not think that it's cracked, the base is
Yeah,
cracked.
the sill, that's right, that's
Right.
correct.
Right, so,
If we were to take a vote and deny the application, Ms. Bauer, would that require her to submit a new application for demolition?
If that's what she wanted to do.
If she wanted to do that, with additional information?
Yeah.
All right. It's your, Chair, what would you recommend?
well, it seems as though you want this garage built. I think it would behoove you to come back with plans that are, that we can understand.
I can do that. I'm just hearing, especially from your lawyer who said you can motion to deny, so it seems to me that that's where we're at. I don't know. And if we're going to deny, if it's not meeting the criteria, then, I don't know. And then my next question would be, if you're saying that it can't be demolished, does the historical committee have funds then, because it's now a historical building, that we have to keep it at a historical perspective? Are you funding that for people to keep their buildings in historical condition?
Well,
If
I
that's
think
required?
I think our
I know you're not. I'm just,
I
it's very
understand you're
frustrating.
venting now, okay, so
And I-
that's fine. But I think what we'll do is, let's just,
Do you, Ms. Gebhardt, do you agree to allow the commission to adjourn this to the next meeting, or
Yes,
whenever
ma'am.
you're ready?
Yes.
to submit your
Yes, I
plans?
will.
All right.
And, but may I add that, could I get a list of what I'm supposed to be getting, what I'm supposed to get from you
That's
for
fair.
that would make it a difference, and then that would make it easier for me to address?
well, sure. I mean, what the thing that we got tonight, which we didn't see until tonight, we didn't get the structural engineer's report until today. So, and this has been, I think it was received in the office in June. So, I mean, it's been months that this has been going on. So, yeah, I mean, what do you, in terms of pieces of paper that you need to resupply to us, resubmit? Is that what you're asking?
No, I want to know what it is you want. What is a list of things that I need to put on the paper, I guess?
I think there needs to
What-
be a conversation between whatever our technical committee's called, sorry, don't memorize it all for the different towns, and her contractors.
The design review.
I don't think it's
Design
appropriate.
review?
Design review, okay.
Okay, all right.
I don't think it's appropriate to ask Ms. Gebhardt to translate what she's heard from the architects here and the consulting engineer to her contractors and be confident that it's going to come back in a satisfactory form that will allow you to decide whether to approve a demolition or not,
Okay.
based on what's being proposed.
Okay, so we'll adjourn this.
Yeah, she has
Application.
given you permission to adjourn it.
You've given us permission?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
No further public notice, but we need a date. So we'll adjourn it to the next date. If you want to adjourn it
Which
after
is
that again.
November. November 21st?
You have to let us know
November
that.
21st.
Okay, November 21st at 7:30. You want to call for public comment on this before?
Does anyone here have any public comment? No? Okay. So we'll see you on November 21st, and in the meantime, we'll be in touch with the office. You'll be in touch with the office, okay?
Yes, and that's where I'll get information about what
Right.
is needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
thank
thank
you very
you.
much.
Okay, next up is a planning board referral, application 2903, 1 Seymour Plaza. It is a minor site plan for telecom installation. Is anyone here to speak to this? Hello. Please come forward and identify yourself and your connection with the project.
Certainly, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I apologize. Certainly, Madam Chair, members of the commission, council, for the record, Richard Schneider of the law firm of Vogel, Chait, Collins, and Schneider, attorney for New York SMSA Limited Partnership, doing business as Verizon Wireless. Would it be helpful, or do you want me to?
Can you raise your hand and our lawyer will?
Well, I'm an attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Raise your hand anyway.
I do have.
Do you have someone else here?
I'm sorry?
Is someone else here that will speak?
Yes. If necessary, I have with me Frank Colasurdo, the applicant's architect. Do you want to swear Mr. Colasurdo in if necessary?
Yes, if you're going to testify.
We'll see. Frank, raise your right hand.
Mr. Colasurdo, is the testimony you'll provide on the application tonight to the commission going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any images that you're going to show?
We had submitted them.
Oh, no, aside, anything that'll go on the screen,
No.
aside from what you've provided?
No.
Yes, no, you provided the, okay.
So just very briefly, and I'll take guidance from the commission and its counsel. I think, famous last words, this is hopefully a simple and straightforward application. The application is by Verizon Wireless to construct a wireless communication facility on the property located at 1 Seymour Plaza. The wireless communication facility is pending before the planning board. By way of very brief procedural history, at one time located proximate to the subject property was what's commonly referred to as a small cell node. That was decommissioned, invoking the need for a replacement wireless communication facility. Legally, the property's in a redevelopment zone, which did not at the time permit wireless communication facilities. In order to allow wireless communication facilities, the applicant, together with the property owner, sought an amendment to the redevelopment plan to permit wireless communication facilities as a permitted use. That was concurred with by the town council, and ultimately the redevelopment plan was permitted to be amended to now permit as a permitted use wireless communications, presumably recognizing the need to provide wireless communication services to the subject property and surrounding area. The applicant, during this process, which frankly has been a lengthy one, had worked extensively with Ms. Talley and others within the township to hopefully arrive at a an acceptable design, including adherence to recommendations at the time articulated by Ms. Talley to use this property as compared to others within the redevelopment zone for the location of the wireless communication facility, including adhering to certain recommendations at the time made by Ms. Talley as to the design of the wireless communication facility, which have been substantially complied with. There are some technical variances that are required, but that functionally is a matter that will be addressed before the planning board. I don't know that I need to comment much further relative to the visual impact. I think in this case, the best assessment of the visual impact is your own independent review of the photo simulations that were submitted as part of the application. And the only other thing I will add is we acknowledge receipt of the project review report dated October 11th, and note, for purposes of the record, our obvious concurrence with the characterization of the facility as one being minimally visible. I have Mr. Colasurdo here, who has been substantially involved throughout the whole process to answer any questions relating to the design, but I, again, would otherwise rest on the visual analysis and the conclusions contained within your review report.
Okay, and these are the photographs that you...
That's correct.
Okay, so everyone has a copy of these? Do you have a mock-up of what is proposed to be there in terms of the...
Yes, so if you look at each of the respective photographs, Madam Chair, you'll notice, bear with me a second, but if you'll notice, on each respective photograph, there's an A and a B.
Yes.
A is the existing condition, B is the proposed condition.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that clarification.
So I guess, as an advocate, I would suggest if you're hard-pressed to figure out what changes, that's a good thing. Without going into voluminous detail and recognition of the time and the matters behind me, the critical aspect here, as you draw on your own experiences throughout the state, is that the antennas, as reflected in the visuals, in the visual analysis, are behind a concealment panel. So the antennas are, I would advocate, aesthetically inconsequential. It blends into the building. You can't see the antennas, and based on the viewscape, you're not going to be able to see the equipment that's mounted on the roof based on its location on the roof. So it's not the antennas that are visible to you. They're all behind the what's considered RF concealment materials. It allows the signal to be broadcast, but effectively mitigates or shields the visual impact of the antenna.
Okay, thank you.
What is that material?
That would be a better.
There you go.
I
Good
can
lead-
do
a
a
good
lot of this
lead-in.
myself, but I'll defer that to Mr. Colasurdo.
Frank Colasurdo for the record, licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. We conceal and insist that the material is made out of fiberglass and styrofoam. So they take 2 pieces of fiberglass, or a piece of styrofoam, and sandwich it between 2 pieces of fiberglass. Now, fiberglass can be textured. The microphone's on.
Hit the button.
Textured and shaped to any texture or shape you want, and color. So there are some metal panel, decorative panels on the building. We're going to mimic those.
I'm sorry, you're going to...
We're going to mimic those.
The metal panels.
Correct.
On the outside of this styrofoam enclosure.
Correct.
Okay, well, so we'll open for questions. Steve?
I finally found them, where they, before and after.
Oh, A.B.
I guess that's a good thing.
Nick?
I agree with Steve. I do not have any questions. I was looking at the lower panels the whole time, and I thought that it's so concealed that the after photo is the same exact thing until I realized the little additional piece at the top tower. I have no questions.
Ms. Floyd?
No questions.
Mr. Mixer?
Just one, there was a note that one of the antennae has to go a foot above. I just didn't see that in the representative picture. Is it which one of the before and after photos shows the height variance? And maybe because I didn't notice it, that's a good thing too.
Well, it's just that if you look at the before and after, the concealment, it exceeds the parapet by 1 foot.
Oh, just the concealment does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Well,
thought
the
there was-
antenna goes up to it, so it's only because they have to use a 6-foot antenna to provide the signal coverage.
And that's the one on the
Here.
south.
It's really hard to see. So for example, if you're looking at 4B, and you have to be straining your, just take a look at 4B.
Yep.
And you see the white.
That goes above the top. Got it.
panel, so you see how it is just slightly above the parapet?
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
That's the 1-foot deviation. And
Got
it's
it.
strictly a function of using 6-foot antennas.
Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Not to brag, but I found them much quicker than my colleagues. But my question is actually about maintenance. Who's responsible? How often? Are they going to continue to match the existing
facade.
building, the existing facade?
Verizon Wireless is responsible for maintaining their equipment.
And how often? I mean, look, we all see the old towers throughout town, right? They deteriorate when they have less use. They become, the maintenance is not always as thorough. So, is there a plan? Is there some kind of agreement? I mean, and will they continue to blend in the way they do now?
So generally, a Verizon technician will visit the site once every 4 to 6 weeks, do some housekeeping, checking, make sure everything's working and looking properly. But if there is a complaint about the way some of the concealment systems might look or fade over time in the sun, it would have to be, someone would have to notify Verizon. And I guess as the Historic Preservation Commission, one of your recommendations could be to the planning board that Verizon would be responsible to maintaining those concealment panels throughout the year so that they fade, they get changed or painted to match the existing.
I'm actually the liaison to the planning board. I will be bringing that up at that meeting as well. But I just want to check for our purposes. We have the purview of reviewing the aesthetics, and I want to make sure, will the materials for the shield fade or not fade proportionately to the materials that are there now? You said it's fiberglass. What's the existing material? That is
Metal is what we're
metal.
proposing. Metal.
Well, I guess would help. Have you done these type of installations before?
Yeah.
And
I've
they've
also
maintained their,
and we've also had conditions placed on our approvals where Verizon is to maintain a concealment system to match the existing building throughout the years.
okay.
Okay, those are
that'd
my
be-
questions.
And I have a question. Why was this building chosen? You mentioned that you worked with the planner, and
I think she thought it was the best property. I mean, we have a limited geographic area, and obviously from a radio frequency perspective, I'll defer to Ms. Talley. I think we were on originally one of the other buildings, but she made the recommendation.
We're on
Okay.
Building East. We
I'm sorry?
refer to this as Building
I'm sorry,
West.
what-
It was an east building we were on.
Okay.
And they referred us to the west building.
okay. I just wondered why you decided on that. Is there any other questions? No? Anybody from the audience like to ask questions? If not, I'll turn it over to Mr. Smolin, and he can discuss his report, please.
Great. First, it's important to note that what you're attaching these to is not a designated historic structure. It's a very recently built property that we're all familiar with from just a couple of years ago. So I confine my review really just to viewpoints 3 and 5 in the applicant's materials. Those are the two viewpoints from within the Town Center Historic District And in both of those comparative A and B viewpoints, the proposed addition of these wireless communication facility features are minimally visible, they're inconspicuous, and they are unobtrusive.
Okay, thank you. So we'll open up for discussion. John?
I think this is a pretty good solution, as opposed to some other things we've seen where this equipment is completely exposed. So this blends in, and I would support it.
Okay. Steve?
Going back over the submission, and they're giving me a roof plan that does not match the elevations. Roof plan is Z6? Z6, and it's got 3 corners.
Are you, where are you, which one are you referring to? Wait a minute.
Is that the case? There's 3 different locations?
No,
There's
but
3.
I think there, well, if you look at this, here's one.
No.
That's existing.
That's the plan. Look on the plan. The roof plan shows 3 different elevations.
But this shows different locations too. Right,
That's new.
right.
What else is there?
Same corner from a different.
Can you explain that?
Maybe you can walk us through this.
Yeah.
All right. Does everybody have sheet Z6 of my site plans? Mm-hmm. It's an overall enlarged roof plan of the building. I'm going to start in the upper right-hand corner, which is the south corner of the building. Okay, you're all there? So, in the upper right-hand corner, the south corner of the building, you'll see a call-out proposed equipment on a 4x12 steel platform. That's where the radio cabinets are going. We're structurally attaching those to the existing masonry stair penthouse. So that's equipment location number 1. Also being attached to that elevator penthouse, but not to exceed the height, and also behind concealment system to the facade of that elevator penthouse is what we call our beta sector. It's 4 antennas. If you go clockwise, to the north corner of the building, you'll see 2 more sets of 4 antennas. We identify those as alpha and gamma. Those will also be attached to the facade of the building. Those are the antennas in a concealment system that hides them from your view to extend 1 foot above the parapet. And that's based on a distance between the parapet and the existing windows below and the size of the antennas my RF engineer has specified. I need that extra foot. So technically you have 3 sets of 4 antennas and then a location for the equipment cabinets.
And is that illustrated in here, these photographs? Is that what you're talking about, Steve?
Yeah,
So,
seems like
I guess 2B, that's what we refer to as the beta sector, the one on the elevator penthouse,
Right.
okay? And then is this? Is this labeled? 3B,
Right,
that would be a photo simulation of the gamma sector. That's the sector that faces north,
right,
okay? Then it turns the corner,
right.
and that conceals the alpha sector, which now 4B.
Which is,
Looks like that's 4B. Because 5B again is the elevator penthouse. It's number 40 Fulton. And number 23 Fulton South.
yeah. Any other?
And actually, in 3A, that's an existing condition, you could see that metal paneling system, the existing metal paneling system.
Okay, so they're all illustrated in this handout.
I believe so. I didn't create these.
Okay.
That was done by our planner.
We should have our planner relabel these alpha, beta, and gamma sector to make it a little bit more clear.
Right.
Even though we do have a key map.
Yeah, it's at the end, Frank. Last page.
So, if you look at the last page, the key map, 3, photo simulations 3A and 3B, you would see the gamma sector,
Right,
and then photo simulations and existing conditions 5A and 5B, you would be seeing the alpha sector.
okay, thank you. Is there any other, Nick? Yeah.
No, I don't have any other.
See, Mr. Mixer? No? And Mr. Ryman? Why have you?
You got to swap. No further comments or no further questions from me, Chair.
Okay, so it sounds as though we're generally all in agreement with the way that the panels have been presented to us. And the one condition would be the maintenance of the panels. And to your point, before you go, you should probably have this clear in terms of.
We'll address that at the planning board, yeah.
Yes, yes, okay. Any other comments? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything more formal or?
So we'll follow up with just a report that includes the comments from tonight. That'll go to the planning board and be shared with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
When does this go to the planning board?
December
It's-
2nd?
yeah.
Oh,
December
we
2nd.
have plenty of time.
And then just a request to the commissioners, if you do not feel you need those plans anymore, we'll take them.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Are they
I'll-
for the planning board? Should I just keep mine?
Yeah, you can keep
Okay, I'll
yours,
keep mine.
And then anyone else, we will take them at the end of the meeting, so we don't have to ask for more.
Do you want this information too?
Yeah, and
The whole
anything that we
packet?
gave you, yeah.
The whole packet, okay,
But most important, the plans, yeah.
great. Okay, next up is Planning Board Referral, Application 2904, 249 Valley Road. It's a minor subdivision for 2 lots. Hi. Good. So while you're getting settled in, I'll just introduce the application. As I mentioned, this is a referral to the Planning Board. It is for 249 Valley Road. It is a subdivision, The subject property, known as the Harrison Homestead, is the nucleus of the Irwin Park Historic District, listed on the State Register of Historic Places. This is for a subdivision that will divide the property, which includes the Harrison Homestead, from west to east, from Valley Road to Irwin Park Road. So this property, as I said, is listed on the State Register of Historic Places in 1986. It showcases a distinctive blend of farmhouse and Italianate architectural elements, including a broad wraparound porch. The entrance door, located on the southern elevation, features subdivided transoms, four-length double windows, cross gables, and closely spaced console gables below the eaves, along with the small Palladian windows in the attic peaks. The existing house is situated on a slightly elevated position on the western portion of the lot and accessed via a curved driveway from Valley Road. The lot is bordered by a combination of fences and vegetation. The applicant seeks to subdivide the subject property's lot and build a new house on the eastern portion fronting Irwin Park Road. Planning Board is considering variances for lot depth and rear yard setback as part of their review of this application. And what we are looking at, because it is such a prime structure in the Irwin Park Historic District, we're looking at what you intend to do. So if you would identify yourselves, and Ms. Bauer will.
Yeah, okay. My name is Payal Patel. I am a resident here in Montclair right now, and I will be the one who is hoping to live in the home that we're trying to build and part of this property.
Stephen Plofker, the father-in-law of Ms. Patel, and my son, Dakota Plofker.
Okay.
I know most of the members of the board have been here.
Thank you.
On numerous occasions.
So I want to note that we did not receive a planning report for this, nor were any photographs submitted for it. So I took some photographs this afternoon, which our secretary has put up on the screen right now. So this is Irwin Park Road, but before, why don't you describe what you intend to do with your visual?
Mr. Plofker needs to be sworn.
Wait, oh, I thought he was sworn in.
No, you just kept talking.
Oh. Okay, good. We need to swear you in.
If you're both, yeah, okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide on the application tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Okay, so describe your project.
This is the subject lot. This is Valley Road, and this is Irwin Park Road. Now, I know this very well because for 20 years, we lived in this particular lot. At 16 Irwin Park Road. We moved out of there about 2 years ago, and we live right across the park on Edgemont Road next to the school. This, so the application is to subdivide the lot. This is the, historical map from, I don't know, was it 1933 or whatever. And it's one of the few lots on the entire block that's not divided in the middle. Most of the lots, as you can see, have all been subdivided at a previous time, including my old lot. When we purchased this lot at 16 Irwin Park Road, it was 2 lots, and I merged the lots. So the only historical lots that were through was the one in question, and possibly this one, although this does show a potential subdivision line here historically. The pattern of development is on Irwin Park Road, the houses face Irwin Park Road on both sides of the street, and they're all relative same distance from the street, except for this one lot in question, which has a swimming pool in basically the front yard where all the other it's pretty unanimous. Even the larger lots, the houses are set back at almost the equivalent distance. This house in question, the historical, has some significance. It's fairly run down. It was an old neighbor of mine, an older neighbor, and my son and daughter-in-law bought it from his estate. It needs a significant amount of work. Roof, rotted wood, broken windows, knob and tube electric, and everything else, which the applicants are proposing to undertake and then sell the house. They have no intention of living there. The subdivision, the resulting subdivision, the two lots will be bigger than, I don't know what they're, 14 lots on the block. The resulting two lots, both of them, will be bigger than 10 of the existing lots. The reason that it requires a variance is because the subdivision ordinance calls for the averaging of all the lots on a block to get the minimum lot size. And because you have some very oversized lots, these two and these are less oversized, then it throws off the average. It meets most of the requirements for the subdivision. In fact, the two lots are larger in area in both width and depth than, it's larger than 10 of the existing lots on the block. So in terms of the pattern of development, it fits nicely. One might argue that the pool that's in the front yard, and I'll show you a few pictures, is out of character with the neighborhood. It doesn't belong, and that a house along Irwin Park Road with the same setbacks as all the other houses on both sides of Irwin Park Road might be more a suitable development.
Mr. Plofker, do we have that, or should I mark that as A1?
No, you have it as part of the expert report.
Okay.
Not blown up to the extent.
All right.
And we, the applicant and I as their father-in-law, looked at some of the conclusions of the expert, and I really don't agree with them. It says it's going to alter the historic pattern of development. I would beg to differ that it's going to reinforce the existing pattern of development and be much more consistent with it. It talks about it's going to compromise the visual and spatial harmony of the area, and it's going to have almost no impact on the existing house. Here's some photographs, if I may. I didn't put them on. Here's the existing house.
Oh, Mr. Plofker, if you're going to speak without the microphone, can you use the handheld, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we need to mark this as,
If you haven't submitted these photographs, we'll mark them A1, and why don't you just count them, how many there are?
There's three of them, three
Okay.
photographs.
so this
Thank
is
you.
the aerial view?
This is an aerial view. This is the house facing Valley Road, and here is Irwin Park. The resulting subdivision, the only real impact on this house, it'll have a much smaller backyard. I don't know, the trees are blocking. It has an enormously large side yard. The resulting lot is probably the, fourth largest lot on the entire block, and so it's not troubled for size. In fact, one might argue that the side yard here is a much more usable piece of property than the thing. So, it's very strange when you're walking down Irwin Park. First of all, you don't really see. This is taken from Google Maps, but you don't really see much or anything of the existing house. This is taken from Irwin Park Road, and that's looking at the back. You can't really see the pool because it's at grade level, and it's up a little bit too. But yes, in theory, you'll miss a couple views of the existing house, but you really, if you walk along Irwin Park Road, you really don't see. It's right now, it's a yellow house. You just don't see a whole lot of it. So, yes, it'll have a very insignificant impact in blocking anybody's view, which especially in the summer months and, you know, for 9 months of the year, you don't have very much of a view anyway of that. Here's another view. This is the third exhibit, however you want to mark it. This is from Valley Road, from above Valley Road, so you can see where the pool sits. The pool is almost in the approximate location of the front of where a house would be. And this is a very large side yard that would result. So the only impact on this house will be a reduced backyard and some very limited blocking of a view from Irwin Park Road, and probably only in the winter months. But like I say, every other house on the block, except my old house, which was 2 lots when I purchased it, and the next door neighbor whose house does go all the way through. Now, these 2 houses, I want to note, that do front Irwin Park, that if you say these are the only through lots, these 2 houses both front Irwin Park Road. And because this is a fairly busy, you know, the intersection of Central and Valley. So it's, in terms of livability, much more appropriate for rear yards. This house, which is the house in question, fronts Valley Road, and it's awkward. I mean, it's awkward. It was always awkward to have a pool in basically what is everybody else's front yard area. And so, you know, it seems just sort of common sense, like it makes sense to have a house fronting Irwin Park Road, and it's going to have very little impact. It would seem to us and our consultants on the existing house. In fact, the applicant is going to make improvements to the house before they sell it. They're going to sell it probably either way, whether they get the subdivision or not. What I can offer is, having been there, been before you many times, here, I don't need this going. That if the subdivision does get approved with this commission support, the applicant is more than happy to come back here for review or anything else you want to do of the new structure they're planning on building. In my understanding, and they really haven't gotten too far down the road because it's not a reality and they don't want to, you know, get ahead of themselves. But it will not be a contemporary structure. It will be something much more transitional.
Is the goal.
And, you know, and I don't think you have any issue if this board wants some jurisdiction of being a participant in that process.
Okay, does that conclude your
I think so, unless you have any questions.
Well, did you show us 3 pictures or 4? Did you tell me you had 4?
3.
Oh,
This
3.
is, this is the view from,
Right.
and I'll pass these around. That's a view from Irwin Park Road taken from Google Maps.
Okay, all right. So maybe we can refer to the photographs that I took today, the photos from Irwin Park Road, because I think that that's the crux of what we're looking at.
How many photographs on
I think there's 4 photographs?
There's 5.
5, sorry.
Okay, we'll mark that HPC 1, 5 photographs.
Right, so that shows, okay, so that's, we're talking about streetscape and the character of the historic district, which is, as I noted, a state registered district. This is Irwin Park Road with the the lot is to the right. Could you advance that, please? Yeah, And then this, where those trees are, would be where the lot is. The house is to the right. And one of my concerns was the setback of the house, the proposed house to Irwin Park Road, because as you pointed out, there's you have the map there, there's 4 houses that all have a pretty deep setback. Go ahead. Okay. And then that, again, is the lot, the stairs up to, which again, you rightly said is the swimming pool up on that little plateau. And you could see the house in the background. And then this is Irwin Park Road again, but I just wanted to show the, I guess that's, the lot is on, that's to the west, yeah, because that's where the Halloween display is. So what your lot, what you're proposing would be where those, the trees are, the mature tree, yeah,
Yes.
over there. the
Yes,
mat-
just to the north of that.
Right there.
Of the Halloween display.
Yes.
Yep.
And is that it?
Yeah, and by the way, yes, there is a large front yard setback, but it's the same with all the houses on that block. And the proposed lot is as big, if not bigger, than every other length of houses. So yes, is it gonna not have the largest backyard? Yes, but it's gonna be as big, if not bigger, than every other house on that block, except for the 2 through lots. So it's, you know, it's gonna be very consistent with the pattern of development, except the existing house on Valley Road, it does create a smaller backyard, but it has a very, very large side yard.
We're just going to pass these so that everyone can look at them. And then we'll start with questions from the commissioners and then questions from the audience, if anyone has questions. So why don't we start with you?
Sure.
Please, Mike.
No problem, Chair. Thank you. The pool, when was that installed?
I have no idea.
Is there any historic significance to it that we're aware of?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Doesn't
I
look
don't know.
kept up and functioning. It's not
I
functioning.
think it's a vinyl pool, but I don't know.
Because it appeared to have, I couldn't really tell. It has a pool cover, but it appears to be,
No one's used
Yeah.
the pool in at least 10 years in my knowledge. It's sort of abandoned. It doesn't, there's nothing built around it that would appear to be of any.
what materials around it? Is it cement? Is it, or is there any
can see from the
indication that it
aerial
might
It
be?
looks like
Photographs.
I wonder if there's contamination. Is that what you're pointing
No,
out?
I'm just wondering if that's a historic structure that we need to consider. I'm
There's
just trying
really
to,
no structure other than the pool itself, and it doesn't appear to be, there's really no surrounding, coping or patio area. It's, I don't know why I think it's a vinyl pool, but
I remember it being vinyl, and I remember there being cement, just around the periphery of the pool, and that was
just
it.
around the periphery?
Nothing
Okay, I'm just
else.
trying to determine if that's a historic structure we need to
Yeah.
consider.
But the cement, I remember, was also cracking along the edges, so which leads me to think that it has not been touched in a very long
Which might
time.
indicate that it's
Older.
old,
I
right,
agree.
right.
when did people, like houses, started building private pools? I have no idea.
I don't know either. This is associated with Harrison Apples, right? This particular home, right? I think that's part of the New York cider industry, which, was nationally renowned. Washington commented on it, right? So the home itself is extremely significant. I don't know if the pool
Question.
necessarily
Oh,
is. So,
question.
yeah.
The survey that they're showing shows a different arrangement of, probably from years ago.
From years ago, and perhaps
There's
it's
some
been.
sort of shape there.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
there is, looks like someone's cut in a square pool into the.
Oh, so that was the original design, and now it's a
I don't
square.
know if it's
Right.
predating what's there now.
I see. Which would indicate it's not the, okay, the original.
Is that what we're reading? Is the cover or
I'd be very surprised if any is.
If it's the original?
But
Any other questions besides the pool?
No, I mean, there's really no other structure on there. I guess if you were to remove the foliage, right, which is how we're supposed to analyze these kinds of applications, right, without the treescape or the landscape, you would have a pretty fulsome picture of the home, right?
if there were no vegetation.
If there were no
there,
vegetation.
You would have a much better view of the back of the house.
Okay, those are,
You can
yeah.
see it almost, one of the aerials, you can kind of see it's an attractive older structure.
Yeah.
And by the way, there would be nothing, assuming that planning board approval wasn't required, there'd be nothing to stop an applicant or an owner of that home from totally changing the appearance of it. This commission only has authority if it's a planning board or zoning board application. It's a simple building permit, not requiring variance or a site plan. Anybody could do anything they wanted with that structure. Not that we're proposing to, I'm just saying, the applicant's proposing to upgrade it and sort of stabilize it because it's,
And we currently live in a property that's pretty private. Like, we've got trees all around, and we love it tucked away like that, and I think we'd probably want to mimic something similar here for the same reason.
Well, my question is, if you're proposing to put a house on that piece, that big, I guess it's a pin oak, that really tall tree, it looks as though that's right in the middle of your building lot. So that would go.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, they just, and I don't want to be rude and make it seem like we've thought through this. We haven't until they get the subdivision. But like I say, should this board have an interest in being involved in that, I think you and Cody have no issue.
Yeah, not at all.
You've been always, for me at least, when we've presented plans, you've always been very helpful in suggesting, I think, very positive changes to some of the things we've done before. So.
Okay. Steve?
The only thing that I don't like about it is actually what you're doing is splitting a really nice lot.
A question.
Well, we're just doing
Question.
right now. No questions.
John, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, I don't.
Nick?
One, you may kind of touched on it already. I mean, given the setbacks that you'd be required to conform to on the new lot for the house, is it big enough that you would be able to build a house without additional variances, given what kind of rooms you want in the house, how many of them?
The other 20-some lots on both sides of the street, seem to be very functional, houses that, hold their value well, so.
Are those the scale that you want to build a new one
Yeah,
at?
so, we're hoping for a 4 max 5-bedroom home. And I don't think we need anything fancy necessarily, but we have a growing family and we'd like to be able to have the rooms that we need to support that. So it's probably a fairly standard size in that sense.
I think that most of the houses you're gonna find on both sides of that block, and this is probably easier to tell because you can see the setbacks of the houses from this plan. But, yeah, no, that's, they're, I don't even know if they're 4, but they're, 4 to 6 bedroom houses, all of them with, reasonable size front and rear yards. And this lot's gonna be the same or bigger. The building lot's gonna be same or bigger. The lot that the house is on is gonna probably be the 3rd or 4th largest lot on the entire block, on both sides, of it. So it's the result, the house is set pretty far back from Valley Road, so it's gonna have a fairly reduced rear yard, but it's gonna have a very large front and side yard. And you can see the resulting lot's gonna be wider than most of the lots on the entire block.
And I'm sorry, just for clarification, the 4 smaller lots that are directly
To the north.
to the north, those are smaller than the proposed subdivision?
These.
Yeah, are they, they're
75 feet, 90 feet, 82 existing lot itself, let me just get oriented. The existing lot itself is 100 feet.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
larger than
larger than most of the lots on both sides of Irwin Park Road.
Any other questions, Nick?
No.
Zena?
No questions at the time.
Mr. Mixer? I have a question on what you showed on this plan here. So where the L shape is, the lot line goes across, see where the L?
Yeah, I think you should have two versions. I think this is what you're meaning here, this.
Yes, does it go across?
Yeah,
Because
we came in with two versions, our preferred version, but another version for the planning board to consider if they would prefer it.
Say that again.
I think in that plan, you'll see two versions of the subdivision. It's one that the applicant preferred, and there's another one, just in case the planning board preferred it. The applicant would rather have the one that they preferred, but, you know, should the planning board feel differently.
Are there anybody wish to speak to this or ask questions? No? All right, so why don't we move on to Mr. Smolin and your...
Sure. So I had the opportunity over the weekend to actually walk around the neighborhood. It's a beautiful part of Montclair, and it's a very, as you've heard, important building that we're talking about tonight. My report is based on the survey from the 1980s of the property, where it was identified as a key contributing resource to the Irwin Park Historic District. It's a farmhouse Italianate style building. The first part of my report describes some of the architecturally significant features, many of which are visible from Valley Road. However, several are also visible on the east side, which is from the Irwin Park frontage. I think it's also important to note that the building, given that it was originally a farmstead and had essentially commanded the whole block originally, is predominantly facing south. The front door is oriented perpendicular to Valley Road, which is, I think, why it has a little bit more breathing room and offset on that off the south lot line. Much of my report, I think, relates to the concept of new construction in this historic district, which is inherently what would come about from a subdivision. I don't believe there have been any significant new construction within this historic district in 9 decades, effectively.
Well, there's a house or two on the Valley Road side, on the corner of Holland Terrace, that you'll see more of a, not in keeping with the
Sure.
character. There's a couple of those, but along Irwin Park Road, the houses are pretty consistent. There's been some very extensive renovations and additions on some of the larger lots, including the house we formerly lived in, but nothing that altered the front facades in any meaningful way.
But within the very carefully defined Irwin Park Historic District, which really just stops slightly north of your property, I believe the ones toward Holland are outside of that district.
I don't know what the boundaries of the
You're near the northern boundary of the historic district, and the newer construction from the 50s, I think that you're referencing, are outside of the historic district. So any type of new construction It could be an ultra-modern structure, or it could be an extremely sensitive and thoughtful building within a historic district is inherently an intrusion to the historic district, regardless of its style, regardless of its mass. Just the act of building something in 2024 is an intrusion. So the pattern of development, which is my third point, I understand your position. I think that this property in particular, given that it is the nucleus of this historic district, commands such a large lot with good reason, and it was, I think, consciously over time subdivided in a way so that you were left with what was, and still is, the largest lot in that historic district for the most important house in that historic district.
I don't think that's accurate. It's not the largest lot in the historic district.
One of the largest lots.
One of the largest, yes.
Okay. The proximity of the new construction as a result of the subdivision, which you can see on the two survey plans, I think is very close to the existing building. But I think what's more problematic is that given the setbacks of 25 feet off of Irwin Park Road that are dashed on that survey plan, you're much closer to Irwin Park Road than the adjacent buildings to the north and the south on the west block frontage of Irwin Park Road. You can see in the survey, you're beginning to see the adjacent 2.5-story frame dwelling on, just to be specific here, on the, I think this is the alternate plan, is at best halfway back from the front footprint of the, what's dashed as the different setbacks, 25 feet from the front, 6 from one side, 10 from the other, 35.5 from the rear. That really becomes the footprint of this proposed new construction, and that's much closer.
Mr. Smollett, I'm sorry, but there's been no building lot proposed.
There hasn't been.
So, I mean, the applicant hasn't come in with plans for a house with any setbacks. So for you to say it's 25, no one's gotten as far as that at all.
Well, your survey, though, has indicated your as-of-right front yard setback from Irwin Park
But that
Road.
doesn't mean that's what the applicant's proposing.
It certainly doesn't. However, you could. That's what the zoning permits, is a 25-foot setback, and that's not really in keeping with the setbacks along that Irwin Park Road.
Well, that's what the setback is based on the average setback along the adjacent properties. It doesn't come from anywhere else. That's the zoning code. It's not an inherently exact number. It's based on the setbacks of the surrounding properties.
So if that were the case, why is a 25-foot front yard setback identified on the surveys?
You'd have to ask the surveyor, which I did not bring.
Now,
The applicant's more than happy to have this board have input and jurisdiction over whatever is proposed.
There's two different proposals here, too. One is 50-foot setback, the other is 25. And there's two different drawings there. And it comes down to what Steve was saying.
John, your microphone.
It's the average, it's the average of the two houses on either side. So I don't know if the surveyor has it quite, he's showing something there, but I don't know how accurate it is.
Understood. So part of the reason I visited the neighborhood and this block specifically was I looked at that same exact Google Earth image. It's almost impossible to see the east facade of your building from that Google Earth thing, but even going there in person in full foliage today at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, it's completely apparent that you can see the east facade of the existing subject property from Irwin Park Road. Distant, sure, but it's definitely visible, and it's not the type of facade that wasn't thought about. It certainly has a lot of historic character defining detail that a proposed building would conceal.
It's to having been in the structure, it's a very new addition in the lower level of that rear of the building. It's, I don't know if it looks original, but it's not. It's very odd, actually, from the interior. They did a whole less than sensitive addition to that structure.
Based on the survey from 1981, we think that addition was from 1885, which would put it at...
There's no indication of that.
Zero shot.
No.
It's like, doesn't even belong in that house by a landslide. Like, it's awkwardly placed, I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
Well,
it's really
looking
it's not
at
in
it-
keeping with the character of the rest of the structure. It's very low ceilings, it's inferior materials, it's really strange. And it's the facade at the lower level facing Irwin Park Road.
So looking at the east frontage from 120 feet away, it wasn't readily apparent to me that there was an addition from after 1885 tacked on the back of that
I'm happy for you
house.
to come in, and I think if you come inside, it'd be apparent in a few minutes.
So the last point I'll just make to answer the vice chair's question is that looking at some satellite photos, it would seem like that pool was built between 1970, when it's not present in a satellite picture, and 1979. Okay, that'll conclude my part.
So why don't we open it up for discussion now? Mr. Mixer, how about we start with you? And what we have to consider, again, this is the Irwin Park Historic District. It's a state historic district, registered. This is the house that they proposed to sell, when it is the most significant house that's in that area, the oldest one. So the question really becomes whether or not this should be subdivided, this current lot. That's what we're talking about now. So with those, things in mind, what is your opinion on whether or not the subdivision, what we would agree on?
Yep.
From a historic point of view.
Correct. I appreciate that. I think the adjacent properties and the size of the current sublots that are visible even from the 1933 plan, but also what we see here, are substantially similar to what's being proposed. Again, we don't have the detail that of what the proposed structure would, its exact location, including setbacks for that, but I don't have a particular negative response to having it subdivided, provided it, continues along the same path of preserving the historic district, that particular historic district's, size and scale of potential subdivision. I did just have a question for Mr. Smolin regarding the final comment on your conclusion, where it says in line with the SOI standards. Is that in reference to the existing building or subject to a new constructed property in the subdivision?
That's in reference to the new construction that would result from the subdivision.
Got it, okay. So you said in line with SOI standards, appropriate new construction shall be compatible with size, scale, and character of the historic property and does not significantly alter its historic setting, thus preserving the visual and spatial harmony of the district. So with a subdivision and that in mind, you could maintain a historic view of a new build in that property. I do agree with what you're saying. Anything built in 2024 is an intrusion, but it's not subject to, it isn't not without reason that the subdivision could occur.
Well, you would inherently be modifying the historic setting of this building as it's existed for 100 years.
Because you're obscuring the view?
You're obscuring the view by building another structure next to it.
Okay, that's my commentary.
Thank you.
Ms. Chairperson, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I don't want to be rude, but I'd like to point out to the board that if the property's not subdivided, somebody could build a pool house or a HD, or whatever they're called, someone could build another structure, even a garage, on this lot. That this board may have a lot less control of. It would be an as-of-right application to the planning board, even if it required a site plan. It would still be as-of-right, or it could be as-of-right.
Thank you for pointing that out. Ms. Floyd?
I have no comments.
Mr. Giuliano?
I agree with Mr. Mixer and Mr. Smolin on deferring points. I mean, I agree with you that you're not creating a lot that's less in character with what's around it. I don't think that would diminish the neighborhood or the quality of the neighborhood. Again, it's in upkeep of the historical fabric. It's hard to completely judge without an idea of what's going on that lot, assuming the subdivision is approved. We'd be interested to see that. And again, if the house itself that's on the other lot on Valley, if the addition toward the rear of it is not historic or not original, I'm less opposed to not having a view of it from Irwin Park anymore. If the new lot is within the right size constraints and the house is within, an acceptable bulk amount. So those would be my comments. I'm, more in favor of it than not in favor.
Steve?
I do not like splitting up big lots like this. I think it's most of the historic fabric of this house relies on all the land that's sitting around it. I can see other ways that someone could subdivide this, but I don't see the point of subdividing it.
So you're not in favor?
I'm
Okay.
not in favor.
John?
I just respond visually to things, and I see sort of the fabric of this block, and it's really more consistent to actually subdivide it and continue the rhythm of the houses along Irwin Park. I suspect that views to this house have been minimized over many years. It was probably one of the few houses on that block at one time, and these other houses have obscured other views of it. And as far as building something new in a historic district, well, we got some historic districts around here. We always got stuff being built new. So it comes back to what is going to go there, and if you're willing to come back to us and work with us and deal with us, I would have no problem with this subdivision.
Okay. Mike?
I tend to have concerns about subdividing historic lots, but I believe the Harrison family is responsible for wanting this large swath of land subdivided for additional housing. I think the pool being built in the 70s detaches it from its real historic origins. Even though it is older than 50 years, it's not really connected to the Harrisons in any way. If it was built in the 70s, I agree subdividing it tends to keep the rhythm of Irwin Park, and if we're able to look and have input on what's built there, I'd be more comfortable as well. I think in general, and I appreciated Mr. Giuliano's point about the back of the house not being a true historic structure that you'd be viewing from Irwin Park Road. So I think in general, I would be supportive of subdividing. So, those are my comments.
When this first came in front of us, and that's why I drove past on Irwin Park Road today, that the wooded land really adds to the landscape of the whole block. I mean, even around the bend, when you come around, the house to the south is on a larger piece of property. There are a lot of trees. I think if the tree that I noted, the really tall must be a pin oak, the one that you could see that's really beautifully foliaged. It looks like it's almost right in this. It looks like the pool and the tree right in the center of it. So obviously the pool has to go, and I'm just wondering that unfortunately the tree would have to go. So I think, in my opinion, as I drove by, knowing that this was one of the last, and your point, Steve, about it being, maybe not quite the largest lot, like the one on the corner would be the largest lot. I think there's something to be said with land around a house, especially in Montclair, where everything seems to be built over now in this day and age. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious. I think I would be more prone to go with the subdivision if we knew what the setback was on Irwin Park, but we really don't know what it will be from Irwin Park Road.
The applicant has offered to give the board jurisdiction if it's, in support of the application, assuming it gets approved by the planning board.
Right.
And it's other than the subdivision, I don't think it's going to be a difficult relationship. I think everybody wants the same thing, a compatible house that's going to look good on that street. Mm-hmm. And in my experience with the board before, I've been encouraged not to just replicate the old style, but to do sort of a more, modern material and interpretation of that. And if that's still the attitude of the board, I think that, the input will be very useful to the applicant, mm-hmm. even in terms of landscaping and setback and everything else.
Mm-hmm. And we lived on this block for many years. And mm-hmm. so we have there's a very specific reason why we want to come back to this block. Mm-hmm. And that definitely plays into our decision for even wanting to do this in the first place. Mm-hmm. So
it's a very special
there.
Block in Montclair. Access.
Oh, absolutely.
And by the way, and the house itself, the existing house, is very, very special, very unusual, but very special with that wraparound porch and views of the pond and the park. It's,
Right. Sure.
In light of what the applicant had mentioned after I had spoken, it is true that if you leave it and they are able to purchase the house, we couldn't have any control over what a person would put in there. That is a very, very good point. And I think that if we did consider subdivision, knowing what the setback would be, at least we were able to have control of what went on to the property, that would kind of match with what we would like to see as an historical architect. So I would be in support of the subdivision if we knew what the setbacks would be.
So let me ask a legal question. How, if we approve the subdivision, how much say would we have into, as a condition, how much say would we have into what would be built there in terms of setback, size, design, style? Is that something that we?
Well, first of all, Mr. Plofker can give this commission jurisdiction, but appreciate the offer.
But, the applicant can request at the planning board to give this, it may not, the applicant and the planning board may not be able to give the HPC the legal authority. And it may, the planning board may not have that right. However, the applicant can consent and ask the planning board to memorialize it in a resolution.
As a condition of a resolution by the planning board, so that's, except for you, other people, I think they could, if you consent to that condition, refer it back to us for design control, and not just input. I've not seen that done before, but I don't see why the planning board could not condition its approval on that if you consented to it.
It would really, we're getting down the road here, but it would really be up to the planning board attorney if they could see their way through. The applicant, I think, has no problem consenting to that and working with the board, even if they get the subdivision, even if the planning board decides to exclude the condition, right? I think that.
Well, voluntarily.
We've come in voluntarily here
yeah.
before, and voluntarily can mean whatever we all want it to mean. I think the applicant is very open to the board's input, whether it's a requirement of the resolution or not. I don't think that's going to change from the applicant's standpoint.
Did everybody understand that?
So.
We have many applicants that offer to give us jurisdiction.
Right, that's.
Well, guys, we've done this a lot. I've been here.
I've personally been here before.
But my daughter-in-law and son have not. But I understand the goal, and I think I'm forgetting the subdivision for a minute. Building a new structure on this, I think the goals are very similar, to have something that's going to work well in that neighborhood. And what that means has to still be determined, but I've come here voluntarily on projects that I was less certain about, and the input that I've gotten almost always has been very helpful to us in coming up with a final plan. And we've done that voluntarily on any number of projects, and you've been very open to giving us your free advice, which has been very valuable to us.
And we're not voting here today, right? This is all our input to the planning board. So
it's a referral.
We can, it's a referral, right? So we can state that we would only be comfortable with a subdivision given X, Y, Z parameters, right? We're not
absolutely
voting on anything tonight anyway,
Right.
so.
And Mr.
So we can make that clear.
Chemulak's not here, but we, if the applicant has the support of the commission, we will inform him that we need to make it a condition of a potential approval, that it comes back here for approval, or, if they will do that.
A condition of, what have you?
Of the subdivision.
No, a condition of potential approval of the subdivision. Is that what you just said?
Well, it would be a condition of the resolution, should they decide
Right.
to grant a subdivision approval.
That would be
We
the
can't make
suggestion to the
them-
planning board. That's what Mr. Plofker
We
is
can't
saying.
make them do that. We
Right.
can only
Yeah.
tell them that this is what the applicant wishes.
So.
And this is what the HPC is
Right.
wishing.
So the, generally, it sounds as though everyone is in approval of the subdivision if we have control, if the planning board will, if a planning board approves the subdivision and that the building and the design and the placement and all that comes back to us for further approval, for approval.
Right. Yes, it comes back to you for approval.
Okay.
The next step will really be probably a building permit.
Yeah,
Right.
the site plan and all that. So.
Well, it's with a single-family house, it's not technically a site plan.
But it's something that we have to look at. and see,
Oh, yeah, no. So.
That's what I
I'm
mean
just
by
thinking
site plan.
Technically, what
Right.
document you'll get. You're probably gonna get building permit application. The applicant may choose to come in here just to have an informal discussion about the elevation and possibly siting of the property beforehand, before they get too far down the road. I would encourage them to do that as a useful, but we're getting ahead of ourselves if
well,
the subdivision is approved.
right, okay. So generally speaking, everybody sounds as though with these condition that this commission is in, would approve the subdivision.
Provided, right, that the site plan or whatever pertinent document came back to us for review and for input.
Review.
I think we would want, I think we'd want input prior to,
Yeah, my
Yeah.
suggestion to the applicant
Yeah.
is when they have preliminary elevations, I mean, enough that they actually, and citing, but it's really about more the elevations, that they come to the board for an informal discussion, whether you do it at a subcommittee or the whole board.
We could do it in a subcommittee, yeah.
That they get to, because, yeah, I think it'll be a very useful exercise. But I don't want to jinx the potential.
It's not- we haven't even
By
talked
talking about
about
this too much.
Right. Okay. So I guess that then,
So you don't vote?
no,
You don't
these are
vote.
recommendations, these are just,
Whatever.
we issue recommendations to the planning board,
Okay.
which you will go to for your next
Yeah.
round
Yeah.
to see whether or not they can agree that it be subdivided.
What are the boundaries of this
The boundaries of
proposed
what?
historic district? Does anybody know?
You know what?
The Urban Park Historic District? Because I have no idea.
I tried to look it up in this today, but I
I
couldn't.
tried to find it too, but I
Yeah,
had
I
no
couldn't
idea.
find it.
Me
It
either.
was,
Okay.
no, but it does say that it, and I know that that's the most important house in the Irwin Park.
Oh, it's a really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that the reason, I really am not in agreement with the subdivision, I'm not, but I think that the specter of that lot behind something else going in there, which I think it could possibly, considering what's going on in Montclair now, is really, could be devastating to the area. So I think with the reassurance that we'll see what you want to put there, what you're planning to put there, and would be, I think, just much better for
I think that's a
us
good
as the
compromise that
HPC.
everybody could benefit from.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
night.
very much.
Is it cold in here?
I said the same thing, nobody agreed with me.
Turn on the air conditioning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our last application of the night, sorry it took so long. But we will invite you forward. This is another, this is application 2906, 9 Cornell Way. It's a bulk variance for an addition, and these are recommendations going to the zoning board. The property is located on the north side of Cornell Way. The property contains a single-family split-frame dwelling. There's a driveway on the eastern side. There is a picket fence around the rear and a line of mature trees. And what the project description is, you're proposing to construct a partial second floor plus attic addition on the west side of the existing split-level dwelling. The new second floor addition will contain 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. The existing chimney will be extended 2 feet above the ridge line. Other proposed improvements include adding a new front porch with decking below the new second floor addition. The existing rear enclosed porch will be converted into a breakfast nook. 2 new dormers and a cultured stone bottom will be added to the westerly side of the house. So this property is in the RO one-family zone, And the applicant is seeking variance from Montclair Code 347-39B for the front yard setback on Cornell Way. The proposed front yard setback with the new addition of the porch and the second floor plus attic is 32 feet, where a minimum front yard setback of 50 feet is required. The porch is set back 32 feet, and the second floor addition follows the existing setback of the home at 40 feet. So welcome. If you could please identify yourselves and your connection with the project.
Sure. My name is Leonard Weintraub, and my wife and I are the recent purchasers of the home.
Oh.
Okay.
And with me is Chuck Mellett, who is our architect, and Enrique Souza, who is our contractor.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So if you just raise your right hand, Ms. Bauer, we'll swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you provide on the application tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So could you then proceed with the project?
Sure.
Description of the project.
I know it's kind of late, so I appreciate everyone's time. I'll try to be extremely brief. My wife and I moved to town 27 years ago. We first lived on North Mountain Avenue. We then moved to 14 Heller Drive, which is a thing a stone's throw. It's on the opposite street and about 3 houses down. Over 20 years ago, we just sold that house this summer and bought this house. My wife grew up on Elston Road, where her parents still live, almost 60 years, later. So my wife is very connected to the town and to this street. So we know a lot of people on the street and the adjoining neighborhoods for many years. And over time, I guess we've become the older people in the neighborhood. So it's a relatively small house. It was originally 3 bedrooms. So we're simply looking to do a couple of things. We're not really changing the footprint of the house at all. And we're just trying to add, as you indicated, a front porch to make the entranceway a little more appealing. And right now, there really is just an attic throughout the whole house. And so what we're doing is on half of that attic, we're adding dormers simply for aesthetic reasons, for no other purpose. And on the other half, we are planning to build over the great room area to build 2 bedrooms. So it's a split level house. It has 3 small bedrooms. And so we're just trying to make it more of a more, what I think a normal size house. So, but we're not changing the footprint. We're not moving really walls at all. I think the only thing we're doing is we're trying to make some of the windows more attractive. I don't think this house was built and has not been maintained. I think we bought it from someone who really was, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they were a flipper. And they didn't really do much to the house to make it more attractive or comfortable. So we're really doing most of that work ourselves. And so the goal is simply to make it more attractive and nicer and more comfortable.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add, Mr.?
Yeah, I would add that, so the addition that we're proposing is only over a portion of the house. It's within the footprint. The only thing that isn't within the footprint is the front porch that's being proposed. And the top of the roof ridge of the addition, which would be the highest point, is 31 feet above grade. Those are the only facts that I want to be out there.
I would just add in terms of, so we walk our dogs almost every day around from Heller Drive and Cornell Way almost every day. So most of that, I don't know that any of the house is set back 50 feet from the curb. So I think, and in fact, our house is probably set forth further than many of the houses on the street. And many of the people either have had porches or they've added porches over time. And so I think that what we're trying to do is more consistent with all of the houses in the neighborhood. So it's not as if our house is somehow closer to the street than other houses. I think the house on one side of, I think at least one side of us, the house is the same distance, and the other house is substantially closer to the curb.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with questions.
Sure.
How about you, John?
Just looking at the elevations here, the new front porch that you're providing, you don't think you need a railing? There's no railing shown at the front of that porch, but you're about 30 inches above the grade there?
Yeah, we don't show a railing, but obviously the drawings are going to be per code. So if finished grade is going to be 30 inches, then there would be a railing.
Okay, so, is there a reason why the Muntin spacing of the windows is different on one side as opposed to the other?
The windows that are in the lowest level on the right side, if you're looking at the front, and also above those windows, which is the living space, those are existing. All of the other windows are proposed new. So as far as we know, those were original windows that I just pointed out.
What's not, I'm not sure that answers my question.
Yeah, it doesn't answer your question.
And it looks like these windows have, the way they're divided up, they have square panes on the left-hand side, square panes at the bottom of an operable sash. It's just a different arrangement, right?
Yes.
It's more of a, I would say, well, that's fine. And I see blank spots at the door. I just see a white, I can't tell what the door looks like. And I see what looks like an awning window on the second floor that's just a solid piece of glass as well.
You know what? I'm going to open the drawing for
Okay,
reference.
sure.
It's in the bathroom.
That's what I was thinking, just flip the whole thing.
You're talking about that. This right
Yeah,
That's
it sort of jumps out as like,
It's above the bathtub.
yeah, but it should still have mutton bars or something. Something. It's the only modern.
He's talking about, like, why is that a clear?
Well, if you flip the whole bathroom, the vanity of the exterior wall, the regular window there.
Okay, here, I'll comment, more than a question. Is that what you're proposing, an awning window with solid sheet of glass there?
No, that could be, that could be a fixed window, actually.
I guess I'm going to not whether it's an awning or a fixed window, but it's not broken up with mutton bars like
Should
the
be.
rest of the windows.
Should be.
Okay.
Correct. And
Okay.
aesthetically, that is a lot value added, sir.
Okay. And the front door, I can't tell. Again, you're showing us something, so I'm commenting on what we're looking at. There's nothing drawn for the front door. I don't know if you're keeping the existing front door.
The existing front door is, I would say, quite inexpensive and thin.
Inexpensive?
So we're planning to buy a sturdier, attractive door that doesn't look like, you're walking into a glass door or something.
I'm supposed to be asking questions. I'm done with questions.
Steve?
I really don't have any questions.
Okay, Nick?
My only question is, for the second floor bathroom, going back to that window, the kind of blank one without muttons that's a different shape than the rest, did you think at all about flipping the bathroom so that the vanity is on the exterior wall and possibly being able to get a regular window there that matches the bedroom windows? I understand with the tub being there, you're kind of limited to a smaller window, higher elevation, but if we flip the whole bathroom orientation, then it gives you the opportunity to get a window that's a little more
That would be
consistent.
an improvement.
You're talking about having like a full-size, window there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of the front facade.
Right.
It looks like you have
Yes.
these big windows, and then you have this little window that's obviously there for a bathroom. And
We certainly can make it.
facing the street would
We
be
certainly
nicer.
I don't know if it makes sense to make it, I don't know if we can make it a half, of the length, just in terms of, because then it takes away that whole, right, it does take away most of that wall. But
We could do that. That is something that would work.
Okay.
That was my only question.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Ms.
No questions.
No questions for me either.
Hi.
No questions.
Getting back to and I know we're not supposed to design here, but the symmetry on the first floor with the existing one, you've got new windows that look like
Yes.
sash windows with transoms over it?
yes.
Okay, so is there a way to reconfigure the windows, getting back to that point, so that you don't have this, unsymmetrical, non-symmetrical arrangement on that second floor?
Are you talking about doing away with the, whatever those?
Well, no, I'm not talking about doing that, just making it more symmetrical, so it's in line with,
If you could get 3 windows on the second
Right.
floor, I don't know about how tall they are, but if you get 3 windows the same size, that'd be an improvement to this facade, wouldn't it?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we could do that.
Okay.
okay. And then those are my questions. Mr. Smallwood, sorry.
Woke me up. So it's a split-level house, which is a very prevalent style in that potential historic district that you're in. I think the technical term for what happened here in the last couple of years is a flipper did a number on it. So the house that we're left with and looking at tonight, I think really lacks historic significance because of the just sheer amount of original facade material that's been removed and some of the odd alterations that happened over the past couple of years. So it's not a significant historic resource to that potential historic district. I do, however, think that by going from a 1.5 to effectively 2-story structure, 9 Cornell Way does become a little bit more imposing. It's probably one of the taller structures on that side of the block, which does begin to alter the streetscape. I think maybe if you could the architect could speak to a little bit more about the proposed materials and how they're compatible with some of the adjacent older buildings, that would be helpful, and just how you're maybe acknowledging the mid-century suburban aesthetic of that neighborhood.
Okay, so we concentrated on 9 Cornell when we were, putting the drawings together. But then when your report came back, what I did was I walked Cornell. I didn't walk the entire district, but I walked Cornell. And I noticed that at least half of the houses on Cornell are as high as 31 feet. I was surprised. The 2 adjacent houses, looking at the house, the 2 adjacent houses to the left are as tall as 31 or taller. In terms of the material,
If I could just interject. So this is a picture of our next door neighbor's house, and then our house, which sits lower on the ground. So even with the addition, our roof line will be significantly lower than their roof line. So I think so it's not as if you're going to walk, it's not as if it's a flat level area and you're going to walk past it, and our house is the tallest house on the block, and it's not. I forgot I don't have the number on this house. This may be the tallest house on the block, which is significantly taller than what our proposed house is. So I don't think that, we're not trying to become the biggest house on the block, and I don't think it will have that feel. Most of the houses on that block although they may have originally been split level, are now two-story houses.
And on the opposing block frontage, where I think there may even be some single-story homes?
There are a few, but for the majority, I believe that they're of this type, or even full two-story homes. There are a few original split levels.
And can you speak to the materiality that you're proposing, or is it genuine wood siding, for example, or composite?
We're proposing vinyl, and most of the houses in the neighborhood are vinyl. I noticed, looking at older photos of the house, probably before it was flipped, it was wood shakes or something like that, and they may be underneath the house, but
I think the current siding on the house is aluminum currently. So it's not original wood. And if it were, we would be looking to, would be looking to match it. So we're not trying to, downgrade from the original, aesthetic.
But are you proposing to change the whole, the entire, all the siding, correct? All the siding will be,
Well, half of the house is aluminum and the wood is covered by aluminum. Half of the other house, whoever did the flip did the hardy plank siding. That's what they did. We're trying to match the hardy, which is a better looking,
oh, so you're not proposing, so the.
Do we have to swear him in, or can somebody
He is
relate?
sworn.
Oh, was
He is
sworn in.
sworn
Okay,
in.
then can he come to grab a
Sure.
microphone? Yeah.
You just need to speak into the microphone for the record.
So I'm sorry, are you proposing to,
Enrique, this is Enrique Sosa, who is our contractor, who has been sworn in, but.
And is the light on for the?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
so the new, the siding here that Mr. Smolin was talking about, is that new, or are you proposing to keep it?
Well, half of on the right side of the house, half of it is covered, the wood, all siding is covered by aluminum. And the other half is done by hardy siding, hardy plank siding.
What color is the hardy plank siding?
What?
It's gray.
It's gray, and the siding on the right is also
And the
conveniently
front
gray.
is brand new too, it's hardy plank. They did a design on it.
The white colored
The white,
portion
yes.
is hardy plank?
Mhm.
So
So
where
it
is,
has basically 3 sidings, the whole house.
are any of them
three different-
vinyl?
What was that?
Are any of the existing sidings vinyl?
No. It's aluminum. The left side is hardy plank, and the front is the hardy too, the hardy board.
That's a number.
Yeah.
And so we would be matching the hardy board plank.
So you're not proposing vinyl, it's cementitious siding?
Yeah, it's the it's the hardy concrete siding.
That's what you're installing?
That's what we're gonna install on the second part where
Are
we
you,
live
so are you installing any vinyl siding?
No, not vinyl.
Where did vinyl
come from?
I know, that may have been a misspeak.
I think I might have said
That's
that.
good, because we would not be happy with vinyl, so, okay.
So
No,
the whole house, you're not having half vinyl and half hardy board?
It's all hardy
No.
board.
It's all
Hardy,
okay.
correct.
I heard that too.
Except for the brick.
Okay.
It's burst stone, some cultured stone.
It's brick, yeah.
But they're proposing stone.
Is there anything else? Okay.
Right.
Right.
The brick on the right, the old part of the house, is that brick or is that brick, or is that
yes, that's brick.
thin set brick?
No, it's brick.
It's brick, and you're proposing to put stone on top of, stone?
No, we're keeping that brick. Staying as
Oh,
it
it
is.
doesn't
Yeah.
say so on here. It says cultured stone, which I think might,
We are putting stone over the brick.
okay.
That was the
Okay.
intent.
Okay, I just, because I think to Mr. Smollett's point about materiality with the rest of the neighborhood, you know, brick might speak more to the age of the house and the neighborhood.
I think, I can't say definitively, but I think most of the houses have more stone than brick.
Okay. Well, that's probably an.
Well, I have a question. I see a trim board below the porch that you're adding, and then a blank space below that until it gets to grade. What is that? What is it? Is that a foundation? Is it a?
Yeah, the foundation is there.
Foundation comes up
Yeah.
to that trim board?
Yes.
And that gets what, stuccoed over?
No, that's the composite for exterior. It's just the cover.
The trim board, I understand.
Yes.
What's below the trim board?
No, nothing.
That's
It's just
empty
covering
space, or
it's
is that
covering the.
Is that the foundation coming
Yes,
down?
that's the foundation. So it's covering the.
Just to the point about the brick versus the stone, I'm just looking at the houses on either side of you and across the street and a couple down. Looks like most of them are brick. is what I'm seeing. Yeah.
Some of them are brick. If it's helpful, I can hand up these pictures, and I don't have the exact numbers, but this one is on the block that is stone, and I do see a brick, and this is number 23, which has the stone. So if I could just hand those up.
Sure, we'll have to mark them as an
I don't have a
exhibit.
definitive, but I do know, so far I saw 2 brick and 2 stone as other houses from the pictures I have.
Yeah, just looking at Google Maps, looks like many of them are stone. I haven't, I mean, many of them are brick. I'm not seeing the stone, but I'll continue looking.
Do you have a cut sheet for the windows? What type of windows you're using? Do you have any?
We'll be using the Anderson windows.
The-
Anderson 400 series?
400 series.
Oh, okay. All right, that's good. So we have the siding, the windows, what are we looking at? The brick? And I just had a question with how that, that proposed new shingle roof that you're running across the new front porch, how does that tie into, can't really tell where here. Above the door. See, that roof goes on to the column and ends. And is this what you were asking about, John, this? And
No,
how
I'm talking
does-
about below the new porch,
Oh, here,
right there, where I'm gonna say they should put stone, but we'll get there, so.
okay. Well, it should be the same thing as whatever they're gonna put
Yeah,
here.
yeah, the base
Right.
of the building.
So how are you finishing, how are you contemplating finishing that roof, that little pent roof that's above the new, that is the new porch into the right side of the house?
It's the left side
It's hard to
elevation.
read what's going on
Right.
here,
Yeah.
but this is a head,
Right.
so it's dying to the side of this.
So it's so it comes out, it comes,
Yeah,
okay.
dives in there and then comes around.
Are you
Okay.
referring to
So
the
you're
left
not
side
getting the
elevation?
depth
Yeah,
of it.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I couldn't understand how you were doing that, but now I kind of get it. All right, so what John's point was, is that whatever you're using to the right should be continued for the foundation under the porch, the new porch. And what about these shutters? What kind of shutters are you putting? Are you proposing shutters on not on all the windows, right?
Well, the shutters the ones on the right half are existing shutters.
Oh. They're not here.
You've got better pictures than I have then. I mean, we were planning to put the shutters that, you know, that mirror the neighborhood. And so,
For the design of the house, I don't know why you have shutters on part of the house and what are the shutters, what is the material of the shutters?
do you know?
Oh, they'll be wood.
Okay. All right, those are my questions.
It's kind of not uncommon for split-level homes to have shutters
Shutters
in
on-
part of the house.
Yeah.
And not on the
They
other
did-
part?
They did that.
Okay.
I think it's okay, actually.
Is that characteristic of the setback, 67? Really? Yeah, well, there's no shutters here. All right, are any other comments?
No, we just questioned, now we're doing comments, right?
Now we're doing comments. Go
Now we're
ahead.
doing comments, right?
All right, yes, go ahead.
Okay, well, I think in general, I think this is an improvement over what I see in this image here. I would just do the stone as a base all the way across the facade. I would eliminate that transom window that sort of is sort of standing, and my eye goes directly to that as opposed to other things. I would try to get 3 windows that were the same size. And, you know, I think there's, you know, when I look at drawings like what are presented, there's a lot of details that are always missing, such as railings, gutters, leaders, things that are going to end up on this building. It would be nice to be able to see where those things are, but I'm going to guess that's probably going to get worked out. So
Okay, thank
those
you.
are my comments.
Steve?
I agree with what Rivnen said. Yeah, that, just standardize the windows somehow. And if you're gonna put on shutters, let's find out what they are.
Well, the shutters, I think, are wood.
Well, they should be wood.
They are, they will be.
Okay.
And Nick?
I think it's a big improvement to what's there. I think it makes it look a lot more consistent with the surrounding neighborhood and the existing architecture that's already there. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the right detailing, you know, making sure the windows have real muntins on them, not, you know, ones that are in between the panes of glass that are outside the glass, so it looks authentic. Real wood shutters, you know, AZAC or real wood for all the trim and the columns and the railings. And yeah, I'd work on, you know, getting that bathroom to work a little better at the second floor to make the front, you know, 3 equal windows across, so that, you know, your eye doesn't go right to the one oddly shaped window compared to the rest of the house. But other than that, you know, I think it's a good application. I think front porches are always great additions to houses. They look neighborly. It kind of softens the edge between the street and the lawn and the mass of the house. So overall, I'm in favor of it.
Good. Zena?
I would agree that just consistency is nice, but it's a beautiful improvement, yeah.
And no,
for
we
sure.
can address that. And I know it's late, but I'll just comment. The first thing we did on Heller Drive over 20 years ago, we put a porch swing in, and everyone seems to love sitting on our porch and just sitting there, you know. So we're looking to replicate that.
Good.
Thank you. Mr. Mixer?
I just echo the comments that were said before too, and I do appreciate a good porch, so yeah, I understand that too, and I know that that's a different discussion for the planning board and variance and all the rest, but do appreciate that, and I think this is in general an improvement on what the current state is, so appreciate it. Thanks.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree. It is certainly a big improvement. I don't have an issue, you know, looking at these photos with the stone versus the brick, and I think overall, you know, it's I like a good porch too, Mr. Mixer, so I hope we're invited over on the swing as well, but overall, I think it's a nice job. So, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you. I think what you've done and our suggestions will really make it pop. I just caution you, I hope the porch is wide enough.
I know that I don't know even what.
No, what, width and depth.
That's what I know. Do you know what the depth of the porch is?
Yeah, I think it's 6 feet. We're cognizant of that setback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And does the roof come right over, comes over the whole porch?
Yes.
Okay. Well, 6 feet's not that big of a porch.
It's not as big as our current one, but it'll do.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all, Pat.
And you've got all the recommendations. Okay, so we write these recommendations up, and then it'll go to the zoning board, correct? Yes. Okay.
Thank
When
you.
is it on for?
December 4th.
Oh, okay, see you in a month. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I appreciate everyone
Sorry
staying so
it
late
was so
to address
late.
it. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Wait.
For any of the referral applications, so 1 Seymour, 249 Valley, 9.
All right, but wait, we haven't, so, the discussion, the CLG grant updates, we've already covered that under our committee reports. Is there any other further discussion for tonight? Okay, haven't said that, it's 6 to 11. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, see you the next meeting, November 21st.
All right.
Thank you.
Good work. Nice work, team.